Mitchell. Oh, what a pass! Driving off that baseline, Maceo Teague.
Welcome to SicEm365 Radio.
After winning the Big 12 regular season championship on Tuesday, oh my, a hammer from Butler.
SicEm365 Radio is presented by IdealMRI.com. High-quality MRIs for $497 or less. IdealMRI.com. Your health is important, so is your budget.
Up top here is Heidel. Oh, the catch and the finish. Nice rim run on the baseline for big Mark Heidel.
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
2 to fire. Mitchell on the fly.
Boy, Mitchell's having himself a game.
Now here's David Smoak and Craig Smoak.
All right, here we go on this Friday afternoon. Man, what a week and a half it has been with college athletics, college sports. So much has occurred, and even today, more news. And, of course, the news that everyone expected, that Texas and Oklahoma have voted to accept the invitation by the SEC. Big 12 ADs met earlier today. Basically, although it could frustrate some of you, what they are saying is don't panic, stay together as one, continue to evaluate the options. I also just learned this, that the Texas legislature, I guess it's the Texas Senate, will have a hearing or whatever you want to call it at 1 o'clock on Monday in Austin to discuss the future of college sports in the state of Texas. It is not by any means to stop Texas from leaving for the SEC. What it could do, although I don't know how the politics go, it could say, hey, let's just make sure they can go, but we're going to let them know when. Of course, right now they're saying all the right things, as is Oklahoma in 2025, and that's for legal reasons that we know, because the Big 12 is basically in the middle of threatening ESPN and even in some cases putting Oklahoma and Texas on notice. Craig Smoak to my right. In our studio today, Paul's out until Monday. In our studios, Marquise and Armstrong Sims. We will get to your chat room on YouTube, which is still amazing, mind-boggling, the number, the energy that you've created with that, and also the text line's open as well, 254-339-1122, as is the phone as well, for you to call in, and we'll take your calls. Our guest today, Grayson Grundhafer, our recruiting analyst at 3:45. Tim Brando of Fox Sports at 4. Ross Dellenger, SI.com, college football writer at 5. And Davion Mitchell, who was drafted last night by Sacramento, number 9 overall, should join us around sometime between 5:30 and 6, depending if his plane in California lands on time. Good news for Jared Butler and also Mark Vidal and Maceo Teague, part of the NBA at least for right now as well. Craig, your thoughts? No surprise. All of what I just said, anything from yesterday that you've chewed on, researched, looked around, and want to talk about?
I mean, all the things that you mentioned. I mean, we got 3 hours to talk about all of it. Yeah, good for Jared Butler, good for Davion Mitchell. Davion, as we can probably talk about more in depth later, didn't exactly appear thrilled by his selection by Sacramento, but circling around, it appears that's just because he did not expect them to take him in any way, shape, or form. He had not hardly talked to the organization. Apparently, he might not have even worked out for him, really. So for them to take him at 9, he was just sort of mind-boggled by it. And I think he probably thought, Golden State there at 7 was going to be the pick because he had been mocked there so many times. And, it'll be interesting to see what happens with him in Sacramento. They're a team that's a little bit guard-heavy, so that made that pick even more surprising. And I feel for Kings fans because they were just they saw the Davion Mitchell pick. They were excited about it. They saw his reaction to it, and it was kind of a bummer, I think. And I hate that for them, but they'll get a great player if he remains there. And I'm sure he'll carve out a nice niche for himself. Jared Butler took a lot longer than I thought it was going to take for him to go. So I think the Utah Jazz, especially with their connections to Baylor basketball, got themselves one hell of a guard. And, man, it's pretty cool. Jared Butler was with the guy who everybody kind of confused or had fun with, the whole Davion Mitchell, Donovan Mitchell thing last year as Baylor was on their run. And Jared Butler's actually going from playing with Davion Mitchell to Donovan Mitchell. So that's kind of cool. And he's going to be joined by Maceo Teague, who signed a contract after the draft was over, a little summer league type of a deal. So great for him as well on that front. And then on the college football front, I mean, OU and Texas took the next steps today. They're moving forward. And, now I'm just very much curious about what the next step is, because are OU and Texas really saying what they intend to do, which is sit through 2025 on this Big 12 contract? Or are they going to pay a buyout and then extra to get out of the TV rights? Is there a big move coming there where they partner? Maybe the conference, the SEC helps them out. I don't know what all can legally happen there. But as of right now, Texas and Oklahoma are members of the SEC in 2025. So what's going to give here? Because none of us, I don't think any of you out there listening or watching, I don't think any of us in this room believe that Texas and OU will still be in the Big 12 by 2025. And if they are, that's a massive win for the Big 12 and exactly the reason why you wouldn't have just folded up tent when they decided to announce they were leaving and go pity yourself. No, you wanted to get that money, and I don't think it happens, but there is still a chance alive that, Texas and Oklahoma are around for a while longer.
All right, so let's get to some of your chat stuff right now. And also 254-339-1122. Marquise and Armstrong run the mothership. From Chris, all right. I got an idea where you are from, Chris. Thank you. David Livingston, here we go again. From Buzz, laugh out loud. Hope this ruination of college football gets blocked. Concepts, support your local roller coasters. Also, again, Buzz, why would Oklahoma want to move from the top of the Big 12 down to buried out of sight number 5 to 8 in the SEC, along with the rest of their cupcakes? Buzz, don't underestimate what they're going to be able to do. But that's okay. That's your opinion in the SEC.
Well, I think he's right. They're not just going to be winning the conference every year. No. Definitely. But I think anybody thinking that Oklahoma or Texas cannot compete, maybe it takes them a little while. I think it'll probably – I don't know who it'll take longer. Oklahoma seems to be in a better position right now, but I think they'll both eventually, do what they need to do to be able to compete, just like A&M did, even though A&M got off to a really hot start with Johnny Football and that O-line Mike Sherman had recruited previously. And so not sure if they'll have that kind of burst onto the scene. Not sure when that burst on the scene will even happen.
Yeah.
So, who knows? Is Lincoln Riley, if they stay till 2025, which, again, I do not believe is going to happen, but is Lincoln Riley still the coach there? Is Steve Sarkisian still the coach there? We don't know as far as that goes, but I have seen a lot today, and you mentioned the ruination of college football. Isn't it kind of interesting, this whole playoff scenario now that's getting changed up, and all of a sudden Greg Sankey's like – Craig Sankey, who seems to know more than anybody in college football, yesterday is talking about how he doesn't favor the expansion of the playoff, and everybody's like, what? Yeah. Like, when did you make that comment?
Or we weren't the ones that wanted it. It was all the other conferences that wanted it.
Yeah, they didn't want it, but then they go at OU and Texas, and then there's this expanded playoff, which you think would have worked out really well for them. So, I mean, he says he's not in favor of it. So if he's not in favor of it, we know the Pac-12 looks to be very leery of it. The Big 12 ought to be incredibly leery of it. What is going to happen now with the college football playoff, and how does that, if in any way, maybe in no way, but if any way, does that, play into this whole scenario with the SEC and all these other conference movements?
By the way, we will have early next week writers or those who cover broadcasters for Brigham Young, UCF, Memphis, some of the other schools that are kind of what might be going on with them. By the way, this is from C. Jenkins, 313 Hook'em, but I'm not doing that SEC champ from Paula.
I don't know. I see a lot of Texas fans saying that. I think you might find yourself in like Tuscaloosa one day and the Horns score a touchdown, or get a win or something, and it's going to be hard not to chant that.
If they get a win, they'll be chanting a lot of things.
Yeah, true.
From Paula, I don't care if Texas and Oklahoma leave. This is about the decimation of other schools' programs and money. The remaining schools need to be compensated, plus be considered for another Power 5 conference. I don't know what the meeting on Monday, and listen, when it comes to politics, but they are going to have a meeting in Austin, legislature, Senate, whatever it's called, on Monday at 1 to discuss the future of college sports in the state of Texas. That is not to keep Texas from going to the SEC, but what it could, because they're a public school, and I know they have a lot of clout. We all know that, and they'll tell you too. And that's true, is that maybe the legislature can get involved. Okay, we're going to also, not just the Big 12, but we might try to dictate that of when you leave to protect the others. And honestly, I don't care how it goes. Just get to a decision so everybody can move on.
Yeah, I mean, if Oklahoma and Texas are going to the SEC, fine. I do have an opinion on the way that they might eventually get there, but if they were to pay their buyout and whatever the TV fees, whatever steps need to happen to bolt, and they're gone after next season, then I'm not going to cry over spilt milk. I mean, it is what it is, and, good for them. I'm very intrigued just as a college football fan, which I am more so than anything else you might want to label me. I am very intrigued by the thoughts of those two teams in SEC schedules, like playing Auburn and Alabama. The reason they're so excited about moving to the SEC, besides the financial security and all that, are those matchups and playing power teams on a more regular basis. So just as a fan, I'm looking forward to that. I don't know if it's going to, slowly but surely become just like everything else and become old hat seeing those teams play each other. But at least at the beginning, it will be exciting. And I don't like government intervention. I hope they're not trying to, do things to prevent. I hope they are actually meeting to look at what can be done moving forward that will be beneficial to all schools involved.
Mount Hood, can they just kick out the weak members of the SEC? I don't know the bylaws, but, it doesn't mean that there can't be change. From Glenn, in with the young and fresh, out with the old and wore out. But Purdue or Iowa will probably end up beating Oklahoma or Ohio State somehow. That's a Big Ten conversation going back and forth. By the way, here's a couple of them. We will chant SEC in the Cotton Bowl at Red River Showdown to say goodbye to the Big 12. That's from Robert Lane. And then this one,
dueling chants, going back and forth.
This needs to be resolved and moved on. Why keep them in when you know they're leaving? Centerpoint Media, you do that because you want to make sure you are going to get what you earn based on the bylaws, the grant of rights, and also possible penalties, so you yourself survive. Yeah. Texas and Oklahoma want to do what they want to do. The rest of the 8 have to do what they can possibly do to ensure their future as well, even though it could be a little shaky. We'll go to your calls in a minute.
I've seen a lot of people, just over Twitter and whatnot, who are going with why are they acting like babies? Just let them leave and all of that. And we've gone over that multiple times, and this is probably not a great comparison. I'm not real great at comparisons, but it's the best I could come up with. And it's like if you were at a job and you have a contract with that company and you make a lot of money. You're used to a certain lifestyle, and you have a buyout in your contract, right? And the company decides they want to let you go, but then they start trying to finagle in a way to not have to pay that buyout. Are you just going to take that and lose your job and not have anything to fall back on, or are you going to fight and still lose your job but have that nice nest egg that you were promised contractually to at least live off of for a little while? That's what the Big 12's doing. They know they're not going to be the Big 12 as is 10 years from now or even 5 years from now, but they can at least get a little something. And given that college football revolves entirely around money, $20+ million for each of these schools isn't going to make you a Power 5 member for forever, but it's at least going to help. And it's sure as hell better than $0 and the same situation happening. So, yeah, I've heard that a lot, but, I mean, it's really kind of simple. If you're one of those 8 schools, I don't know how you don't see their position on this unless you're just someone who really just wants them to let you have what you want, which is Texas and Oklahoma just walking freely to the SEC.
A couple of you BYU fans, Matthew Nelson, we heard about the fan from Mansfield. We appreciate that as well. That's Ivan, but also from Matthew. Hey, guys, look at Baylor ticket prices for this year. Brigham Young Baylor single-game tickets more than Baylor, Texas, and Baylor, Oklahoma. And ask TCU, who filled their stadium back in 2006. We're going to get to more of your text, also your chat. Armstrong Sims runs the mothership. Marquise is here. And the number to call, we'll try to get to as many as we can in and out of the guests that we have, but pretty open for the first 30 minutes of this show.
And when we come back, I think we'll talk about this NCAA announcement as far as a meeting they're going to be having next week.
Let's. You want to go to a couple of calls first, Armstrong? Here you go. You let me know.
We got Jack from Nevada. Jack, you're
Jack in Nevada. Good afternoon, Jack. How you doing?
Doing good. How about you?
We're doing great. Thanks for the call.
I have a question. Do you think that the Big 12 will stay through 2025 with 8 members? And if not, do you think the Mountain West could end up becoming more attractive than the American?
Thanks for the call. Appreciate it.
Thank you. I know who's in the AAC. And in the Mountain West, I also know kind of who's a part of that. The days of me knowing every team in every conference changed when all the realignment started, but I try to keep up. I don't know who has more value, but it appears if ESPN's talking to the AAC, which is what Bob Bowlesby is claiming, then that means they might feel themselves, because they are the ones with the money, that the AAC perhaps has a little bit more clout. That doesn't mean they're right, but that could be some sort of a sign right there. Thanks for the call.
Yeah, I mean, I think Boise State is an interesting team. It kind of depends what would they want to do geographically, because the Mountain West is very much a Western conference. If the Pac-12 Big Ten scenario happens, which again is still just kind of floating out there, that the Big Ten and the Pac-12 could be working on some sort of an alliance, whether that be scheduling or actually the Big Ten poaching, like the top 6 teams. We discussed that a lot this week. Let's say that situation happened and that domino fell. Well, I'm looking at some of the teams in the Mountain West. Maybe Boise State would suddenly get a call from the Pac-12. Then again, maybe the Pac-12's with the Big Ten, and that leads to the remaining 8 after their contract runs out scrambling for members. And in that scenario, which is it could happen. None of us know what the future looks like. I think Boise State's definitely attractive. Colorado State, I think I've
heard them a lot in these texts that I get later at night.
Yeah,
their name is brought up.
Boise State, BYU are the ones that they're most often mentioned. It seems like, outside of like U of H and teams like that. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like they could have done that the last time around, and the Big 12 seemed to decide that they weren't interested or that those teams weren't needed. And in hindsight, it might look a little foolish. But again, I don't think if you had added Boise State, Houston, SMU, whoever you could have added a few years ago, UCF, that was going to keep Texas and Oklahoma from still wanting to jump to the SEC when they had the opportunity. So, good question. I don't know. I think anything's up in the air right now, but I don't think it would be a full-on Big 12 Mountain West convergence. And I do think if the Big 12 is to, melt into somebody else or have somebody else melt into them, that the AAC geographically and just with what we've heard from ESPN this week would make more sense. But we'll see.
By the way, a couple of others, SEC smacks the Big Ten all day, every day. Now we got those guys going at each other. John Kelly, I agree with you. The AAC is perceived as a step down from the remaining Big 12 teams. And then the perception factor. There's some teams in the AAC that have value, but they're in the AAC because the Big 12 didn't think there was much value, or in some cases maybe they weren't interested as well in the Big 12, and maybe they saw what is going on right now. Armstrong, 254-339-1122.
Okay, we got Alex from Oklahoma.
In Oklahoma, home of, wait a minute, it's got to be a Sooners fan, or is this a Cowboys fan?
I am a Sooners fan.
There you go.
What's going on?
I was just wondering about you guys' opinion on, like, Baylor and TCU joining the AAC or PAC. Like, what would your guys' preferred destinations be?
Well, I would much rather see them in the PAC because that's, as of right now, a Power 5 conference. So, yeah, a Power 5 over any other alternative would be the best bet for Baylor, TCU, and the other 6 as well. But, the AAC thing's really – it's interesting to me that they wanted to fold the Big 12 into the AAC and not the other way around. Have you thought about that at all?
Say that again?
I know with Texas and Oklahoma departing – that makes the Big 12 lose a lot of value. So it's just a money thing, ultimately. I kind of answered my own question. But how they wanted to fold the Big 12 teams into the ACC rather than the other way around, that would kind of tick me off if I was Bob Bowlesby.
Well, because if they do that, if they were to fold the AAC into the Big 12,
you got to pay.
Then the Big 12's still alive.
Yeah.
If you do the other and the Big 12 falls apart and fractures, and then all of a sudden ESPN's commitment, along with Texas and Oklahoma, to the Big 12 grant of rights and all that timeline disappears, or at least most likely in some way would.
Which to me kind of throws gas on Bob Bowlesby's theory
it does.
ESPN was trying to create the Big 12 to not have to pay money. But to answer your question, Pac-12, Big 10, ACC, those conferences, if possible, which I know not all of them are, over the AAC. But, I'm not entirely opposed to the AAC thing. But, it is a step down for those schools. So, I'm sure they view it that way, and they would like to prevent that from happening for as long as possible. But it wouldn't shock me in the slightest if what's trying to happen behind the scenes ultimately is what we eventually settle on, with those schools probably going to the AAC.
As Starship Tracker asked that same question. And so we're getting to a lot of what you are asking. A lot of you now are fighting between the Big Ten and the SEC because, of course, everybody has to say they're bigger, better, faster, stronger. And those are the two superpowers. That's the Big Ten, $50+ million a year. The SEC is going to be in that neighborhood or more. And so now you start to have those two go at each other. At some point, that's why the remaining 8 have to stay calm, if they can, which I'm sure they're not, patient, unified, because, let the SEC and Big Ten go beat each other up.
Yeah, and going back
stay together.
Yeah, well, and if the Big Ten Pac-12 thing happens, and you're really going to have two dueling, even more so, super mega conferences or whatever. But, remains to be seen on that front. And, I know it's a exciting day for Sooners and Longhorn fans. I'm not somebody who's bitter about it. I get the business side of it. I don't necessarily like it as a college football fan, but it's a big day for everybody out there, including the guy who just called. So congrats. Don't like it, like I said, but I get it, totally get it, as we've talked about all week long. But, Baylor, TCU, going back to that just real quick, Pac-12 seems entirely unlikely. Big Ten seems no-brainer unlikely. SEC, no-brainer unlikely. So really all you're hanging on to is the ACC. And I don't know how, there's 8 teams fighting for how many spots over there. So I don't know that any of those are really realistic options at this moment.
All right, here's one from Cliffy Anton, and I disagree completely. The remaining Big 12 teams can't wait till 2025. Have to leave now. Texas and Oklahoma are forcing the hand of the other 8 to leave and disband their contract before 2025. It's the complete opposite. Now, they might panic, but it's the complete opposite. They're not forcing the remaining 8's hand at all. It might look like they're the ones with the leverage because they're the 2 big bullies and the 2 bigger universities, and they're the ones leaving. But they're not. They'd love to force the hand, but the big 8, 12, 16, power, elite, angry 8, whatever you want to call them, they're the ones that, as of now, even though Texas and Oklahoma are about to make big bank, are the ones the 8 have a little more leverage than a lot of people think. 254-339-1122.
And I do think the Big 12 officials have to be aware of, media influence potentially and rumors getting started in certain circles that would like those rumors to spread and maybe make people a little bit nervous and want to make a jump potentially. So, this entire thing moving forward for these 8 schools will be a test in alliances and a test in trust. And right now that trust has been broken because of what Oklahoma and Texas did. And I think all of those ADs probably understand it ultimately and would make the same move if allowed. And they're also right to be upset about the way that it happened when you've got people sitting in meetings for, a year listening to all your information and the whole time they're plotting to leave. Like they have a reason to be upset about that. But yeah, they don't have to make a move right now. It's almost like people are forcing them into a situation where they have to, or making it feel like they have to, because those people want to see them make a move, because making a move would entail most likely OU and Texas not paying a buyout and immediately jumping into the SEC. And it would entail good things for everybody but the Big 12, quite frankly. So again, they have no motivation to not be the Big 12 until they just can't be the Big 12 any longer, no matter how, lackluster the championships may be with the 8 teams, or no matter what the ratings look like, they are still under contract. That contract matters to those schools.
Mike S. on the chat, then we go to another call. Armstrong, when do the big powers of some of these other conferences make a move to kick out the weaker teams? It's all about the money. Why share the money with weaker schools? And one of the things I was asked about with why is Iowa State more valuable or Kansas State more valuable than SMU? The number one reason? Because they're on the inside. They're a part of the Big 12, whatever is left of it, where SMU, unfortunately, is not, even though they're in Dallas. We've gone over this before. SMU, Dallas, even TCU, Fort Worth, Houston, Tulane, and New Orleans, they're not bringing in the eyeballs that a network would see and go, we want that because they're going to bring automatic revenue, so we'll go pay extra money, add the conferences, get bigger. You better bring in the revenue. You can say that about a lot of teams that are a part of Power Fives. But they're inside the house right now, whatever walls are left, and so that's why they have more value in Iowa State than someone perhaps like SMU or Houston.
Yeah, and by going and just panicking and jumping to the AAC because you're worried would immediately lower your value as a school. And so if you have it right now, are you going to willingly give up, even if the Big 12 looks like it does? And I do like the idea of just calling it the Big 8 from here on out, basically. But OU and Texas are still around for the time being. But, yeah, it's a weird deal, no doubt about it.
All right, from the text 252, then Armstrong. The money will be paid. ESPN will pay it when they want them, Oklahoma and Texas in the SEC, and when they get their money back in 2 years. Yeah, that if the SEC wants them, then they'll be a part of this negotiation, you would think, as well. Armstrong, what do we have?
We have someone, the name messed up, but out of Cincinnati, Ohio.
Cincinnati, Ohio. Good afternoon on SicEm365 Radio. Thanks for the call.
Hey, guys. How you doing?
We're doing well, thank you.
So I just wanted to add something real quick. So I actually am from Cincinnati, but I live in Ocala, Florida now. Grew up a big Buckeye fan. And then when RG3 was at Baylor, I started rooting for Baylor on the side also. So I really love what you guys have done. I just wanted to ask, with OU and Texas moving to the SEC, I really don't think Texas is going to have a good time for at least the next 4 or 5 years. So I wanted to see how successful you guys think they'll be. And then also, since I am from Cincinnati, I do think it would be a natural transition for UC to go to the Big 12. You look at how they competed last year. They played a hell of a game against Georgia in their bowl game. So I really think it'd be a great fit. So I just want to get your guys' take on it.
I like Cincinnati. I asked this yesterday with Paul, who's out today until Monday. Is Luke Fickell, how long is he going to be there? And that's the same thing that schools that have not won a lot have to ask. Like Matt Campbell questions and names all the time. And you wonder, Matt Rule when he was here, Art Briles when he was having a run at Baylor, they won't be there very long. There's only a few Bill Snyders anymore, and of course he's gone as far as out of coaching as well. One of the things about Cincinnati, that's a hell of a program. They've got some meat there. And with Luke Fickell there, they will compete. The question is, how long is he there? And even if you think he'll be there 10 years, that's still a legitimate question because they're not Power 5. And being a part of a Power 5, I don't know if that keeps him at Cincinnati any longer, but it sure doesn't hurt that you can sit there and say, we're now a part of a Power 5 conference. Cincinnati can play the damn game.
Yeah, no, since I watched Cincinnati a lot last year, and I like Luke Fickell a heck of a lot too, and you definitely can invite teams based on who their current head coach is with how much college football shifts the landscape. But just in general, Cincinnati was a team wildly rumored to be involved in the last round of Big 12's investigation or I guess look into expansion a couple of years back, and they were a no-go then, just like UCF and SMU and Houston and all the other teams that might have been involved in throwing their hat into the ring. I don't know what the Big 12's reasoning for that was back then. I think it was probably just the fact that adding those teams wouldn't have bumped the revenue shares per team. It would have actually probably lowered it. And that's what it ultimately boils down to. So, if there's a scenario where the Big 12 is allowed to survive somehow post Oklahoma and Texas, and it's by expanding, I don't know that would happen soon. But Cincinnati is definitely near the top of my list of teams that I think would be of interest, along with UCF, along with BYU, along with Boise State. I mean, shoot, you had those 4 teams right there. I think that's, you might not be a Power 5 per se, but you would be pretty close on the edge. Now, I don't know financially how much that conference would really matter. I don't know eyeballs-wise. I mean, I know BYU brings a big audience. I know Cincy does well, et cetera, but is it enough to put them over the top to make that move worth it? Last time it wasn't for the Big 12. Now it's a much different scenario, obviously, so maybe it will be. But I definitely think if there's an idea of expansion for these remaining schools, that Cincinnati will be, right there near the top of the list, I would think.
We got a break. Craig and I will be here until 6 o'clock. We have John. We have Ross Dellenger on the show. We're going to get to the NCAA thing when we come back.
No, I want to answer his other question really quick.
Okay.
On Texas, we said it a little bit earlier, I think both Oklahoma and Texas will do well. I don't think they'll run in and start winning conference championships, but I wouldn't doubt Oklahoma having like an A&M entry type of run. Not Manziel mania, but success like that early on. Texas, I'm not really sure. I need to see them actually play under Steve Sarkisian. I think they'll definitely be much improved, but I need to kind of get a better look at them this year and know really what direction they're heading. It appears they're heading a positive direction, but I would lean towards Oklahoma probably having more early success, but I don't think either one necessarily comes in and just becomes a 500 team because they joined the SEC, just my opinion.
All right, we'll get back to your calls. We got to take a break right here. Text line, I tell you, when I get home at night, I'm trying to spend about 45 minutes to an hour with those of you texting, even when we're off the air and have been off the air for an hour or 2 or 3, because a lot of you watch the replay or certain segments. Thank you. And I'll try to do that when I can. And then when I get up, I go after it again to try to respond to some more of your questions. We appreciate it. When we come back, more of your calls, text, and chat. 254-339-1122, and Craig's note about the NCAA and what they're about to talk about as well down the road. And this is SicEm365 Radio. Ideal MRI, what they can do is find out what hurts so much. Not just maybe something that's tweaked or something that might be sore, like a shoulder or a knee or your back, or something that's a muscle or a ligament that just kind of maybe you strained it a little bit. But even a strain can hurt. It can hurt a lot. Ideal MRI can do one thing for you. They can find out exactly what the pain is that sometimes maybe keeps you from sleeping, keeps you from having the ability to focus and function. And it could be something bad, like a torn muscle or ligament. I had a rotator cuff back 6, 7 years ago. In fact, it was hurting me where I couldn't sleep. I had to toss and turn. Eventually, the MRI, it was a torn rotator cuff and a detached bicep. Ideal MRI can find out what that is. State-of-the-art technology, idealmri.com. And here's the other key. They can save you hundreds, maybe thousands of dollars. Idealmri.com, their MRIs are $497 or less every single time. In the Central Texas Marketplace in Waco, it's state-of-the-art MRI at idealmri.com.
Allen Samuels is holding the Make This the Summer sales event with special values on the new 2021 Jeep Renegade Latitude with up to $3,750 in total values or 1.9% for 72 months plus $500 in bonus cash and no payments for 90 days. Make this the summer sales event at Allen Samuels, 201 West Loop 340.
Come by. Let's be friends.
See dealer for details. All offers have credit requirements.
Grant Dideker, under the umbrella of Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, McLennan County agent, but you yourself represent your own business, what you do with customers. What separates you think, from everyone else?
I'll educate, let them buy. I'll sit down, go over all the coverages with them, go over everything, make sure they understand it. In case they need to use it, they know what they have, fill in any holes that they may have, or take any excess away that they may not need.
Your personality, who you are to customers, some people have different personalities. How would you describe yourself?
My dad was a coach and a teacher. My mom was a teacher, for a few decades each. And again, just I teach, educate, let them buy. And, there's no dumb questions. My dad always said.
Grant Dittaker, Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, McLennan County agent. If someone wants to contact you, just straight on your cell phone?
Yep, 254-265-0442.
Grant Dittaker, Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, a McLennan County agent.
At Impact Research Institute, we can help you identify if you have non-alcoholic fatty liver disease and measure for liver stiffness or scarring. If you or a loved one has diabetes, high cholesterol, hypertension, obesity, or concerns about your liver health, Impact Research Institute may be able to help by providing liver health screenings quickly at no cost, physician counseling, and opportunities to qualify for clinical trials. Visit us at impactresearchtx.com for more.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Ben Erlinson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Ben Erlinson, 100 North 6th Street in Waco, 254-759-8533. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
Stepping into a new pair of boots is great, but stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can also add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. There are more than 150 occupational specialties to help them find the best fit for their future. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Welcome back to SicEm365 Radio. Are you a SicEm365 super fan? Then try out our premium subscriptions at SicEm365.com.
All right, we'll get back to your calls, text, chat. Appreciate all of you who are watching throughout the country as well on our YouTube channel, 365 Sports. Craig's got a note. I've told you about the Texas legislator, 1 o'clock Monday, going to meet about the future of college sports in Texas, whatever that means. Maybe it's tied into Texas and their grant of rights timeline, who knows. But the NCAA is also, and again, when I hear about them, but the NCAA has some news as well.
Yeah, we all roll our eyes when we hear the name NCAA. I don't know how powerful they are or they will be moving forward, but as of right now, they still are who they are. But this coming down in the last 15 minutes, the NCAA said this afternoon that they will be calling a special constitutional convention in November to discuss changes to the way college sports are governed. The governing body will have a 22-person panel that includes administrators and athletes to potentially draft a new constitution for the NCAA and its member schools to follow. NCAA Board of Governors Chair Jack DeGoya said, as the national landscape changes, college sports must also quickly adapt to become more responsive to the needs of college athletes and current member schools. This effort will position the NCAA to continue providing meaningful opportunities for current college athletes and those for generations to come. Any changes in November could be approved in January, and the NCAA is calling this a historic move. Emmert said, not about tweaking the model we have now. This is about wholesale transformation so we can set a sustainable course for college sports for decades to come. And, already a lot of people are like, oh, now the NCAA, who sat on their hands for 2 years with name, image, likeness and couldn't get anything done, or didn't even appear to try to get anything done. And the same NCAA who's had a, investigation into Baylor for 5+ years now with no sign of an end for no reason. I mean, the case has been in their hands for months and months and months and months, and Baylor's just been waiting for months and months and months on an outcome. So as slow-moving as they are, they suddenly see all the waves crashing down. They're like, special convention in November to wholesale change this thing.
Yeah, it's the twisted chicken, which the names on this chat room. No one cares what the NCAA says anymore. They have done both to the teams caught with misconduct. They have, I don't know what part of that was. No, I agree. They've just lost their bite. Even though if you're a Baylor fan, you're still kind of wondering, okay, do they still have some teeth left because of their waiting and pending eventual whatever happens with the NCAA investigation?
And I wonder if it's even going to matter, because if you listen to Greg Sankey, I don't think his future of what college football looks like includes the NCAA. I don't know about you, but I don't think that it does. I think it includes more of people like him and his conference, and maybe his super conference having more of a say.
The NCAA runs the men's basketball tournament. They are supposed to be the police of teams and what they do with rules, and they've lost control of that because of the NIL and many other things. They are about to completely lose whatever happens with the college football playoff, it appears, and they've kind of been separated from that anyway. And the NCAA, what they do is they're the umbrella for everybody. All 350 teams that play men's basketball or football or whatever sport, they run that. They're supposed to, but good God, they seem to screw a lot of things up, and they seem to be reactive rather than proactive, which is one of the problems the Big 12's having and where they are now as well.
Yeah, so like that first commenter said, I think that's how we all felt. It's like, oh, eye roll. NCAA said something, eye roll. But, yeah, they are holding a special convention that's going to transform the way things currently are.
All right, Armstrong. Grayson Grundhafer will check in on Baylor recruiting here at 3:45. And then Tim Brando and Ross Dellenger at 4 and 5 today, Central Time. Armstrong.
We got Derek from South Carolina. Derek, you're on.
South Carolina, where the Smoak name originated from back many years ago. How you doing, Derek?
Hey, I'm doing good. Like many listeners, I found you guys last week. I was stunned that Texas and Oklahoma are coming to the SEC. I'm a huge Carolina fan. The problem that I do have is that with these 16 teams, 4 conferences, it's going to be in the mindset of like the NFL. A lot of these coaches are going to be on the hot seat really, really quickly, because if they're pouring out $40 and $50 million per team, then these coaches don't have a way of saying, I need 3 or 4 years before I can get this program up to par. You coming in, I feel like these coaches are going to be on this hot seat, and they're going to just be turning them over. We just got Shane Beamer, Oklahoma assistant. He's doing very, very well on the recruiting trail. But I guarantee you, this money coming in, there's going to be a problem if he's not winning in 3 years. I mean, he's got a strong following. We got 85,000 that we can put in the stands. And we're not even the best team. We're like lower tier. But because of this money that's coming in, there's going to be some issues if he's not winning. And just like all the other teams, there are going to be some real coaching turnover just like that. Because why? This money is coming in, it's generated, and it's basically the NFL.
Yep.
It really is. Thank y'all so much for taking my call. You guys are all right with me. Appreciate it.
Hey, Derek in South Carolina, go Gamecocks. Appreciate your call. South Carolina has been, the last 5 or 6 years, has been under 500. Muschamp didn't work. Steve Spurrier had a nice run. They don't have too many George Rogers running around for them any longer. But I've always liked South Carolina. I really kind of always just, and one of the things is that they're there. And, they'd love to be better than just there. And you wonder about where they are when you add a Texas and Oklahoma.
Right.
What does that do to Arkansas, Missouri, South Carolina, Tennessee,
Vanderbilt's like, we're just going to be bad anyway. So.
And even some of the teams in the middle of the pack are better because we don't know. But, Derek, great to have you on the show. And you're right. There's already guys getting fired now You put another $20 million, $30 million, $40 million on the table every year. You have to perform to fill the stadiums, to also make sure your fans are engaged and the alums want to spend even more money.
Yeah, I mean, do the buyouts, which are already ridiculously, they're so sky high, it's insane. But do those now increase because now agents know that conferences are dealing with more money? So now you're talking about an even larger buyout, or does it make it easier simply for schools to buy out a contract because now they have all this additional money? But certainly there are going to be some ramifications that some like yourself may have thought of with the coaching situation or just other areas. Name, image, likeness is kind of taking a back seat to all this conference realignment talk, but have no doubts in your mind that played an awfully large role in Oklahoma and UT's decision and will play a very large role in the SEC moving forward. So, yeah, I think there's going to be a lot of unintended consequences, which is to be expected whenever you make a massive move like the one being made by OU in Texas, and there could be even more coming if more teams decide that they need to make moves as well. I'm not talking about the remaining 8, but like actual, like the Big Ten or the Pac-12, if those conferences decide to do something, then it gets even crazier. And I'm with you, man. Like, if this turns into where the Pac-12, and the Big Ten mesh together and there's that Northwest, basically the NFC, I guess, the Northwest Football Conference, and then you have the Southeast Football Conference with the SEC schools, and maybe they bring in Clemson and Florida State and North Carolina and Miami or something. Yeah, that's going to leave a lot of teams out of the mix. And, maybe that's not the direction it goes, but it certainly appears that that's the direction it's going because that's where the money is. And I'm with you. I'm not a college football fan because it reminds me of the NFL. I'm a college football fan because it's college football.
Because it's not the NFL, even though I know how
it's not the NFL. Yeah. And I like the NFL, but I get to watch that on Sundays, Mondays. I get to watch that basically almost every day of the week now, it feels like. But if I want to watch the NFL, I'll watch the NFL. If I want to watch the college football, I'm not watching the NFL. And if college football becomes the NFL, then maybe I don't bow out entirely, but I can guarantee you I won't be watching as religiously all day on Saturday or watching MAC games, early in the week. And I don't think I'll be alone in that. And so that's one of those unintended consequences, but I'm sure the big brains have an idea of how to manage around that.
The 337 love the show. Thank you. Hope y'all can make this continue and go national. We are looking at our options as we move forward. This story has blown this thing up for us. We appreciate you. College football needs a format. That's from Sean in Louisiana. Go Tigers. My question, what other schools are positioned to benefit from the Texas-Oklahoma ripple effect?
Good question. Well, I would say if you are another school that ends up joining the SEC, I guess you would be benefiting, if you're Florida State or Clemson or something, because their move preempted and then therefore made room for your move. So those teams potentially, obviously the Big 12 schools are not going to benefit even if they were to fall. And I guess in theory, some of those schools, like let's just say Kansas and Iowa State go to the Big 10, which based on everything I've read, I'm not really putting a lot of stock into that. I think that's more wishful thinking than actuality, but who knows? And again, this is also unpredictable. But if let's say you're Iowa State and Kansas and you end up in the Big 10 after all the dust settles, then you benefited. You're obviously in a much stronger conference. You're in a conference that is, not going to fold nearly every other year like the Big 12 feels like it does, constantly. Maybe some teams benefit from just far more secure landing spots and end up making more money. But that's a good question. I don't know how else it might benefit other schools.
There's a question I got about the ESPN, the money, and Hulu and all of that. And it's a great question, or it's a great actual comment from the 806. Remind me when we come back around 420 to get back to your calls and text to remind me to do that. That's from John about all the size of what Disney and all of that goes with it. When we come back, though, Grayson Grunhaper, SicEm365, is our recruiting analyst. Every Tuesday, he and Craig do a 1-hour podcast. You can watch that if you want. It's Bearcast.
If you're a Baylor fan, you'll be interested. If you're not,
if Derek in South Carolina, you might not be, but we appreciate you. Not done yet. All the way until 6. Tim Brando, Ross Dellenger, and Sacramento guard Davion Mitchell, we think, at 5:30, SicEm365 Radio. PettyClinicalOT.com, what can they do? Help you become the high-performance man that you want to be. How do you find out if they can help you? Go get your blood work, lab work, your blood levels. Dr. Petty will set that up for you at the clinic.
Go to pettycliniclowt.com and tell them I sent you. There's a phone number. There's an email. Tell them that, hey, you know what? Maybe I am a part of this. 1 out of every 3 men have symptomatic issues of low testosterone. Dr. Petty will set you up to get your lab work, your blood work, look at the numbers, and if your testosterone is too low, he can put you in a program, become the high-performance man you used to be, what you want to be, and what you need to be at pettycliniclowt.com.
Y'all listen up. Let me tell you something about group meals from Rudy's Barbecue. It's got all you need for all the folks you gotta feed, smoked meat, sides, and more. There's everything down to the tablecloth, just like the one that you see at the store. At a bridal shower, it's better than flowers. And a long-distance meeting, it'll pass the hours. It'll feed all the cousins at a family function. It's better than potluck at a church luncheon. Next time you need to feed 10 or more, call and order a Rudy's group meal.
Next in line. Rediscover the thrill of driving with power and exceptional handling and control in a new 2021 Cadillac from Richard Car Cadillac. Whether you drive the dynamic 2021 CT4 or CT5 sedan or the sporty and spacious XT4, XT5, or XT6 lineup of SUVs, starting at only $32,900, the Cadillac of your dreams is waiting now to make your 2021 an exceptional year at an affordable price. Test drive from the expansive selection at Richard Car Cadillac or let us bring a test drive to you. Go to richardcarcadillac.com to schedule a test drive today.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be a part of the Waco community. We're a small family business right here in Central Texas, and our goal is to bring down the cost of healthcare while maintaining high quality. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important, and unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. That's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through the difficult time. We offer premium MRIs just like a hospital with state-of-the-art technology and specialists, but you'll pay less. Sometimes thousands of dollars less, whether you're using insurance or not. At Ideal MRI, we accept most insurance and there are no hidden costs, even offering financing if that's needed. Everything included in the price, and you'll not get something as a surprise in the mail later on. If you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. They'll know. You can schedule an appointment safely from home online in minutes at idealmri.com or give us a call, 833-IDEAL-MRI, idealmri.com.
With more than 160,000 alumni worldwide and counting, the Baylor family is growing. And through the university's expanded Baylor alumni program, the family is growing closer. With hundreds of local volunteers planning events in cities and towns around the country, you can gather with fellow Bears no matter where you are. So, get connected, get something started, get involved, and make plans to get together with Baylor alumni. Visit us at baylor.edu/alumni.
Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physician of Baylor Athletics. Our doctors specialize in the diagnosis and treatment of any and all sports-related injuries, celebrating over a decade of service in Central Texas. Our doctors are equipped to handle a wide range of issues, whether it's your foot or ankle, orthopedic spine care, your hand or wrist, knee and shoulder pain, or if you're in need of our arthritis or total joint clinic. Come see us at the new Baylor Scott and White Ted and Sue Getterman Sports and Orthopedic Center. Trusted doctors at Baylor Trust, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics. Our goal is to get you back in the game.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine has their easy-to-access drive-thru open and convenient and clean in-store location on the corner of Lakeshore Drive and North 19th Street in Waco. Riverbend Liquor has the best and most extensive variety of craft beer selections in Waco, and Balcones whiskey, including single malt, pot still, baby blue, rye, brimstone, and the all-new lineage in stock. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, family-owned and operated, and a hidden gem in Waco on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street. And find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
Welcome back to SicEm365 Radio. It's time for our weekly segment with Grayson Grundhafer of SicEm365.com. Brought to you by Pioneer Steel and Pipe, where customer service is their main focus, and best in metal, steel, and pipe for large or small projects, with 2 locations in Waco and Bryan. Family owned and operated since 1943.
All right, Grayson Grundhafer, SicEm365. He covers Baylor recruiting, so we'll open up that door for a little bit today. And I mean, Grayson, at times you look up in the premium section and there might be 6 or 8 stories about recruiting the week of, whatever. And Grayson, I'll go back to really the same question even at this time last week. What are some of the recruits? Have they said anything differently to you, or is it still kind of a wait and see, and some, no matter what, they remain committed to Baylor?
Yeah, I think as more information has kind of come out and more, I guess, clarity on what exactly is going to happen with Oklahoma and Texas, I've been having a lot of conversations with the recruits, and all of them have been really good conversations. I still think, from most of the recruits' perspective, it is still a wait-and-see approach. But I will tell you, I think that after the conversations I've had, and this isn't the entire, recruiting class, this is just from various people inside the class and various opinions, I would say that I think it's kind of become very clear that most of the recruits would like it if Baylor were, whether they're in the Big 12 still or, one of those Power 5 conferences. I think it's really the sweet spot for Baylor. That's kind of where they need to be. Good news is for this year, at least, it seems like they're going to remain in the Big 12, and then next year we'll have a little more clarity on the situation. But, yeah, I think when you kind of look at it, all of these commits are still very much committed, but this just adds another factor into their recruitment. And I think that's really the area that you're really seeing continue to grow. I think recruits have a lot of questions that right now, frankly, the coaches can't even answer. And the Baylor administration can't even answer at this very moment. And so I think there's just a lot of uncertainty. But what I can tell you is all the commits love Baylor. And as long as Baylor pretty much stays in a similar spot that they're currently in, I don't think Baylor's going to have too many problems. Now, if they go to a Group of 5 conference, say the American, that's where you might see some issues, because a lot of the commits Baylor has are guys who have a lot of Power 5 offers. And frankly, that's very attractive to any prospect in the nation, as it should be, and is a big reason, why Baylor and TCU and Texas Tech always have, for the most part, better recruiting classes than, say, SMU and Houston, because there's that differentiating factor.
Grayson, what just, there's not a lot going on in recruiting right now, per se, camps are not going on and all that kind of stuff. And this is clearly taking over the headlines. Just, I know you're a big college football fan too. Just as you've watched this unfold, what have been your thoughts now that today the news has become official with Oklahoma and Texas?
Yeah, it's a weird time for sure. And something that honestly, I was not really expecting to happen, at least not this soon. I think everyone pretty much, I believe, at least circled 2025 when the Big 12 TV deal came up, and what was going to happen then? Was there going to be some drastic shift in college football to super conferences or something along those lines? And it just came way sooner than I was expecting. And, Texas and Oklahoma, it was kind of one of those situations where they did it behind everyone's back, and I find that to be really shady and just a really weird situation, and something I truthfully did not expect to happen. But hey, they decided to go for it, try to join the SEC, and now all these Big 12 schools can't feel sorry for themselves. They got to pick themselves up and go figure out what the next step is.
And the 636, not to be insensitive to Baylor, but does Grayson expect second and third-tier SEC schools to absorb the angry 8 recruits if they, in fact, leave the Power 5? Whoops.
Wait, can you repeat that, Smokey?
I think basically, and I had the same thought. So do you, if you're Baylor, and this all goes through, and is this suggesting they're not in the Power 5?
Yeah, if in fact somehow or another the angry 8, the remaining 8, find themselves on the outside looking in, could their commits, recruits, whoever, become more feed, or so to speak, for the mid-level, second, third-tier SEC team?
Vanderbilt, teams like that.
Yeah. I don't, oh man, that's a good question. Does it impact it that drastically? I don't know that Baylor's going to lose recruits to, say, Vanderbilt or to a school like that. But if you want to put people who are on the same tier, Arkansas, absolutely. Yeah. A school like that, yeah, for sure. I think Auburn's a step above, but a few Baylor recruits have Auburn offers. Yeah, that would be more attractive than a group of 5. I just think it has to, obviously, if the commits are going to decide to leave, if Baylor does end up in a group of 5, it's going to be for an upgraded level of school. I don't think it'll be a Vanderbilt or, like a Rutgers or something along those lines. So, that's kind of where I'm at with it. But right now, I do believe the commits are fully locked in. It's just they need more information. They need to know what's going on. And right now, nobody has an answer to exactly what is going on. And that's what makes it a little bit of a wait-and-see process and kind of one of those situations where for someone like me who covers recruiting, it's going to be very, very interesting how the next, few months unfold where Baylor's trying to figure out what they're going to do next.
By the way, we just lost our entire Vanderbilt audience with our live. We didn't mean to. No offense whatsoever. So Grayson, obviously there was that big string of camps a few weeks back, and there was exciting times and all that. It's kind of settled down now here in these midsummer months. For fans of Baylor recruiting, what's kind of the need to know at this point as we're about a month out from the season beginning?
Yeah, so there is one more camp, and it's tomorrow. So they'll have one more camp. I expect it to be a fairly big one, probably either the biggest or one of the biggest, along with probably the June 19th and June 12th camp. So a lot of guys will be on campus. I know right now Baylor is kind of in a mode where a lot of schools, I don't know if you've seen this, but a lot of schools have taken kids on visits right now. They're doing unofficial type visits. And so Baylor really hasn't done that because they did most of that during June. There's going to be another dead period that hits at the beginning of August, which is when Baylor, of course, will be starting fall camp. So there'll be a dead period during that time. So, again, there won't be many recruits on campus until the dead period opens up once again. So that's kind of big news on that front. And then kind of the other situation that's developing is tomorrow, actually, there's 2 big decisions. Texas High outside linebacker Derek Brown and then Tenaha linebacker Jeremy Patton. They're both making decisions tomorrow. It seems like Brown is between Texas and Baylor. Patton, on the other hand, he seems to be taking a really hard look at Michigan at this time, but Baylor is right in the thick of it, and so is Texas as well. Both of them are at the Texas pool party, which I believe is today. So that's something to look out for. Both are 4-star prospects. So if there's going to be any imminent shifting for Baylor's recruiting class, those could be 2 names to keep an eye on.
Hey, just reading the tea leaves, I mean this with no disrespect towards the young man, but I don't know. I'm going to assume this SEC Texas move probably sways Derek Brown potentially.
Yeah, I'm leaning that direction as well. I think that probably was kind of the I'm not going to say nail in the coffin. Baylor did a great job recruiting him. Baylor was the leader through his official visit. But yeah, I think Texas is for sure going to be using this information to their advantage. You know it. And I could see that definitely playing a factor, especially since he is, at Texas today. So I would be kind of surprised if he didn't end up choosing Texas. Patton, on the other hand, is a little bit more of a mystery. I think Michigan has really, really gained a lot of traction in his recruitment. So I actually have them kind of as the leader heading into tomorrow, but it wouldn't shock me if Baylor ended up being the selection. He's kind of a perfect fit for their defensive scheme, but also just as a personality. So maybe that becomes a huge factor late in his recruitment.
All right. Thank you, Grayson. Appreciate it. Keep up the great work, SicEm365 Radio. Also, he is our recruiting expert and analyst, and he also does the Bearcast with Craig every Tuesday, and then they put it up on the site on Everything Baylor. When we come back, Tim Brando, I just got confirmation, 420 Scott Drew, nice. Baylor National Championship basketball coach on last night's draft with Jared Butler, Davion Mitchell, and just got confirmation from the Kings. We will get Davion Mitchell sometime around 4:45 or so today. So we're loaded up. And we will come back with more SicEm365 Radio.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible and rewarding challenge. Hi, this is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like our free First mobile app, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. That's the First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
It's time to fire up the grill, heat up the oven, or get that deep fryer going to enjoy the top quality products at Waco Custom Marketplace. Order 30-pound sacks of live crawfish by 6 on Wednesday. Pick up on Friday afternoon after 2 or Saturday. Enjoy the weekend. 30-pound sacks of live crawfish available right now for $4.25 a pound. Find all the crawfish boil ingredients you need, including red beef potatoes, sausage, corn cobettes, and Louisiana boil seasoning. Make your order for live crawfish by Wednesday at 6. Pick up on Friday after 2 or all day Saturday, and enjoy the weekend. Waco Custom Marketplace, your home for fresh baked kolache, cinnamon rolls every day. Butcher shop to cut your steaks the way you want. Fresh seafood, summer sausage, boudin, house cured and smoked bacon, spices, seasoning, soup mixes, and more, and weekly gift boxes for any occasion. Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco, or WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
Hey, this is Bryce Petty, former starting quarterback and two-time Big 12 champion, and I know firsthand the importance of being in top shape both on and off the field. So listen up, men. If you're feeling beat down day in and day out and looking for that high-performance edge that separates the men from the boys, then look no further than the Petty Clinic Low T in Waco. Petty Clinic is a comprehensive men's healthcare clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Board-certified Dr. Kent Petty has a special interest in offering the highest quality medical care to men of all ages. Some of the services offered include screening and treatment for low testosterone or thyroid, infertility, high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, sleep apnea, while offering comprehensive wellness exams and complete men's health lab panels. High performance men, remember, it's not just a Petty thing. This is Bryce Petty, encouraging you to reach out and Google search Petty Clinic Low T or go to pettycliniclowt.com and get your complimentary lab screening today.
Stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. See all the things they can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Parenting is full of surprises.
You never know what to expect.
So after our son was born, I called my Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent to set up a life insurance policy in case something happened to me.
Sawyer is now 2.
And we'll soon have a sister. There's no one else I would trust with protecting my family.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Three Nations Brewing Company is a recognized award-winning brewery that has been recognized for being a community leader, a successful business, and most of all for brewing great beer. Three Nations offers the community something fun all throughout the week. Wednesday night bingo, Thursday trivia, New Beer Friday promotes fresh beer from their small batch system and live music every Saturday night. There are regular celebrations such as St. Patrick's Day, Switchyard, Cinco de Mayo, July 4th, new beer launches, dog rescues, annual anniversary events, and Oktoberfest parties. Three Nations is a dog-friendly and family-friendly brewery. Don't miss out on the fun. So come visit Three Nations Brewing Company on East Vandergrift off I-35 in Carrollton.
Welcome back to SicEm365 Radio.
Up tempo for Baylor. Ebner straight ahead. Johnson lassoed him from behind, but instead he pushes across for the Bears touchdown.
The 4 o'clock hour is sponsored by Boozer's Jewelers, the wedding ring store, specializing in custom jewelry and repair, all in-house.
Now here's David Smoak and Craig Smoak.
Man, we've been rolling since last Wednesday afternoon when the news about Texas and Oklahoma, the SEC, and so many of you have been a part of what we do now on a national basis. We appreciate you on our YouTube channel, 365 Sports, and you will also learn that we get the great guest. Tim Brando, Fox Sports, joins us, huge involved in college football, who's been on with us many times. We appreciate it. Tim, how do you try to How do you try to grab on to all of what's going on right now? Is this good for college football?
If there's a little smoke, pardon the pun, it was intentional, you will find some fire, and God knows I have found it just by weighing in, as I always do when these kinds of issues come up. I wrote hopefully a perspective piece that I put on all forms of media yesterday. It was actually transcribed from just a video post I did on Monday. If you haven't read it, I suggest you go either my Facebook page or you go to my Instagram page, Timmy B on Fox. You can find it also on Twitter at Tim Brando, and at the Sports Broadcasting Journal, which is David J. Halberstam's website, which he asked if I'd do it and transcribe it, which I did, and put it out there. Dave, there's a reason why we're where we are historically, and it goes all the way back to 1984 when the Supreme Court ruled in favor of the universities of Georgia and Oklahoma to have the rights to their broadcasts of their universities' games, and stripping it away from the NCAA. And the evolution from all of that, the formation of the CFA, the College Football Association, the break-off between the Pac-10 and Big Ten for the Rose Bowl, and the CFA membership being made up of all the other conferences plus Notre Dame. And then we had the coalition and the alliance, which was improved, but we still couldn't get the Big Ten, Pac-10 winner together with the CFA, so we many times didn't have 1 versus 2, and the BCS was born so that one could play 2. God knows we needed to get rid of that god-awful process, and the college football playoff was born, which I would argue hasn't been as inclusionary as even the BCS was because of the way it was put together. Now we see, and I think a lot of fans are forgetting this, David. I'm bringing it up because I know it's not the real story at this moment, but consider again what we just accomplished. After NIL, we now have 12 teams in the college football playoff set to begin in 4 years. It may take that long for us to get there, but we've got 12 teams. And it's still written that the 6 conference champions, the top 6 conference champions, are going to be in the college football playoff, and then 6 more will come. All right. So if the big problem for the 8 teams left over from Oklahoma and Texas leaving for the SEC, if the big issue here is, oh my God, there's going to be 4 super conferences and we're just going to be kicked to the curb, stop thinking about jumping off bridges. It's not that bad. The sky is not falling. Okay, if the Big 12 stays intact with its 8 remaining teams, there's still a mountain of money to be made between now and 25 in the new television deal. When the college football playoff goes to 12, if there are 4 super conferences, that there are going to be 2 more conferences that get an opportunity to beat the champions of those 4 super conferences. So what has happened here is really a progressive thing. Okay, we've got a leader at the SEC office who decided, you know what? After we lost all of that money through COVID, our schools are hemorrhaging money. I had to cut some extra checks for a lot of these conference schools, these conference affiliates of ours. So the NIL just got voted up by the Supreme Court 9-0. The NCAA has now decentralized itself, so they're admitting that they really can't do much, and we knew that for a long time. But they're out of the equation. So it's going to be, ultimately, it's up to us to take care of NIL on our own, our schools and our conference. And we know in any new television deal that takes place in 4 years for the college football playoff, no matter who that's structured by and no matter what network carries the game, money will have to be given to those players. There's going to be a piece of pie of the new conference affiliations into the college football playoff that goes directly to the players. It's not just going to be go to your room and get your Xboxes and your video games and here's another $5,000 computer for you. No, they're going to want some money. So what I've been I think Greg Sankey did was a huge step towards understanding that the landscape has changed, and it's all on us now to make sure that we've got enough money to go around, because we're going to have to take care of these players as well. So what did he do? He procured the two big guns with the two biggest names that you could possibly have to add to the strength of his already very powerful conference. And I think that's progressive. I don't think that's reactive. I think that's progressive. And that's what we need more of. I believe the leaders of the other conferences are going to look at this and do what they have traditionally done every time we've seen realignment take place. Dominoes begin to fall, movement begins, and the schools should be, really, all of them, in my opinion, they should be okay. So, yeah, there's some growing pains and there's some hurt feelings. The story, and it really did reach a tipping point with, the cease and desist letter. For Bob Bowlesby to feel that he had to do that tells you, he was clearly on edge, and understandably so. And then for the programmer, Burt Magnus, these are two men that I respect. To write back in another public manner such a curt response to the commissioner of the Big 12 should tell you that this is a place where we've never been, and how we get to where we're going to go, I'm not sure. I'm not Kreskin, but I do know this: we're progressive, and we need to get closer to unified leadership. We need to get closer to, instead of having 5 guys from the Power 5 conference tell us how collegial they are, and then behind closed doors, they're going behind everybody's back and contradicting everything that they're saying publicly, privately. We need to get rid of that. I mean, we need to get rid of that quickly for college football to move forward in the 21st century. So I know that may be unpopular with some of your listeners and viewers, but I really believe that we're going to be okay. I think college football is finally heading in a very good direction, and an inclusionary direction. As I said, we're going to 12 teams, not 4, 12. And if the SEC gets more of them, well, you know what? They took the steps to make that happen, and they probably would get the greater percentage anyway, because they've had such a great run, and they've had success with multiple teams, not just Alabama, but with multiple teams winning national titles the last 15 years.
Tim, your thoughts on Oklahoma and Texas? All of it became official earlier today. Now, as far as the timeline goes, that remains to be seen. 2025 is the contract, but we know there's things that can happen. What are your thoughts on the move by those two to the SEC and when that could potentially happen?
Well, I believe Texas was the linchpin on this, fellas, and you probably agree with me on this.
Mm-hmm.
I believe Texas wanted this, needed this. I find it interesting. I read Kurt Bowles wrote that they felt like for Texas to, Texas was being held back by the Big 12. Really? So you can't beat Oklahoma State. You can't beat Oklahoma. You can't beat Kansas State, and I can go on and on. But the problem here is the league's not good enough. Mm-hmm. But you can't beat these teams. Where have you been since 2009, Texas? But it's the Big 12's problem. Texas wanted this done first and foremost. Oklahoma came along for a really good ride, and those two were kind of in lockstep even back in 2010 when the Pac-16 probability was there. I remember going to sleep at night. I was doing my radio show back in those days. I thought that was happening. And then what happened? And this is the curious part of this that a lot of your friends and fans maybe don't realize. But I'm going to go a little inside baseball, inside TV on you. Okay, the Longhorn Network was the foundation of holding the Big 12 together, and it was put together by the very guy that wrote that letter back to Bob Bowlesby and a few others in Bristol, Connecticut. Okay, a handful of television executives said, well, what if we give them the Longhorn Network? That way we can keep them there. We can hold on to the rights there. We can get the rights back. So this was a television decision, okay, in Bristol about the Longhorn Network. It was clearly something the Lost Dodge wanted, but trust me, the driving force of it was by television executives. So Larry Scott's idea, he was going to be the smartest man in the room, that went away. But here comes the Longhorn Network, and they're thinking they're going to clear all these games. There's going to be all these high school games on, and the Big 12. Gene Stallings remember when all that was going on with A&M? Like, are you kidding me? Mm-hmm. Hell no, that's not happening. And of course, everybody else, you guys, Texas Tech, TCU, everybody was like stomping their feet, gnashing teeth. No, that's not going to happen. So that thing turns into a $350 million mistake. All right. It did spawn a few outstanding television careers for some people in front of the camera. But I mean, that's what it was. And the moment that happened, in the back of my mind, if I'm an administrator at all the schools, and if I'm the commissioner of the Big 12, I'm thinking, hey, at some point, they were ready to go. Okay, and this wasn't just about Texas and OU. Texas Tech was involved. Oklahoma State was involved with the Pac-16 thing. Okay, so in business today, you have what? You have comrades, you have colleagues, and you have confidants. Well, there are no confidants in college athletics, okay? And your constituents and your colleagues aren't exactly loyal all the time, all right? So you better have your head on a swivel. And I think that's sort of my point. The reality here is what Bob Bowlesby asserted, and have you guys seen anything new from Dennis Dodd today on whether he substantiated the role that he alleged in his column that the American Conference was the smoking gun? They were the ones tampering with ESPN to poach more teams. Yes. Have you seen anything new on that today?
Not in the last few hours.
No. I tweeted Dennis Dodd last night. I said, anything new on that, Dennis? Asking for a friend. Yeah, asking for a friend because, listen, Mike Oresco is a friend of mine. I think the world of Mike, and he's done a brilliant job with that conference. But Mike was a former programmer at ESPN, and then he was the vice president of programming at CBS. Mike knows TV inside and out. All right, and I love the guy, and I'm not casting aspersions his way, but I'm simply telling you that. That's a story. If that's what you're going to put in your story, then hey, is anybody going to follow up on that? Well, apparently no one is. Okay, I haven't seen anything on it today, which I find really interesting. Well, I'll be curious to see if any more comes from that, where Bowlesby's concerned, because you guys can tell me his phone must be ringing off the hook with these leftover 8. In the Big 12, they got to be burning the phone lines, and I'm sure he's seething right now to have gone public the way he did with that letter, and then get the follow-up letter, and watch, as the commissioner of the SEC is being credited in his conference by his constituents with being the guy that blazed the trail for transition to super conference of college football. I'm sure that really is problematic for him. I'm sure it upsets him greatly.
Yeah,
but I believe that the Big 12 is going to be okay if the members are tolerant and patient and allow Bob Bowlesby to lead. I have great respect for him. He's one of the measured leaders, and his background is tremendous. I thought the help that Chuck Ninus gave the Big 12,
absolutely,
and then Bob Bowlesby came in. And last year, we wouldn't have had a season last year if Bob Bowlesby had not said, you know what, we're going to do this. Okay, we knew where the SEC was going, and the ACC too. Once they got Notre Dame, the linchpin last year for us having a college football season was Bob Bowlesby in the Big 12 conference. No doubt in my mind. So I would put trust in him to have a checkmate to the check that's taken place.
Yeah, and there's a lot of people that wonder why he's been reactive, not proactive, and why he didn't know more. But hell, I don't know if more than 5 people knew really what was going on along the way. Tim, I know we got Coach Drew's about to join us in a minute.
Right.
But if you were Bob Bowlesby, and I'm not legalese very smart here, if you have something, how tempting would it be to throw it up there and let people see it?
Yeah, it's an excellent point. But you know what? He's also a guy that understands what's best for the game too. Okay, and he was clearly angry yesterday and the day before. I would hope that, and I believe this. I believe that calmness is probably the next step for him, and then trying to find a way to make sure that his membership is taken care of. And, it's interesting. I mentioned Mike Oresco a moment ago. Before Mike came to the American Conference to take over, he was actually named the Big East Conference commissioner with an understanding that the Catholic schools were going to go all basketball and that they were going to have to reform a league, and that as the old conference ended and the new conference began, he would be selling the rights to the name Big East, and he'd have to come up with a new name, and they received all this money. And that's the other thing. Big 12 is sitting in a position now with both schools. You know they're not going to wait till 2025.
No.
You know that's not going to happen. So the exit paychecks that are going to be coming from Oklahoma and Texas will be big. And a lot can be done with that. Really. I mean, a lot can be done with that. The question becomes, again, can he hold those schools together long enough through this season to come up with an understanding that as they get closer to the bids and the negotiating for the next rights that come up, that he can put together a cobble of teams that make sense, that make it work. And that's really, in my estimation, what's going to matter most to those schools. The Kansas States, the Iowa States. The concern I would have if I'm Bob is making sure Iowa State doesn't, bolt to the Big Ten, that Kansas, and there's a lot of talk about because they're AAU programs that they would do that. Try to keep guys in lockstep with what you're trying to achieve. Because as you look at the grand scheme of things, guys, that's a healthy, wouldn't it? $37 million per team right now, I believe, annually. Okay, that's more than the ACC's getting, and they've got a cable network now.
Yep.
All right, it's a hell of a lot more than the Americans getting. So where are you going to go? If you just stay where you are, your chances of winning your league are, I think, enhanced greatly with Oklahoma out of there. If you add a couple of teams, fine, but you don't have to go crazy. Just add some teams with value, whatever that value is, and go out and win your league, and you're going to be in the college football playoff, which in my estimation is what this is all about. This is about everything now is about driving the financial bus and getting to the college football playoff for the big payoff, because it's going to be huge. We go to 12 teams, guys. We're not talking about $67 million annually. We're talking about $2 billion annually. All right, and whether that's on ESPN as it is now, or if it becomes a two-network collaboration with Fox, it's going to be a lot more money than it is now. So, again, I just tell the fans, the sky is not falling. Things are going to be okay. And, frankly, I believe this is where college football should have been headed a long time ago. And if you want to paint the SEC as the black-hatted villain, go right ahead. They're comfortable with that anyway.
Tim, thank you as always, buddy. Great to have you on. Tim Brando, never shy about letting us know how he feels, or his Twitter back and forth. They're always incredible to be able to watch as well. Armstrong, can you try to see if we want to take a break here and get Coach Drew? Is that what we're going to do? All right, let's take a break here. We might come back earlier. Craig, you want to summarize anything with that?
No, I was going to say,
Thank you, Tim.
Tim is saying exactly what I was saying earlier about staying pat with all that money involved and the lack of a parachute to a place that's on even ground from where you are right now. I mean, he explained it in a different type of way, but that's exactly what I've been talking about the last few days. If you're the Big 12 schools, unless you have that automatic Big 10 offer, or something like that you just cannot pass down. I don't know how you pass down all the money that's coming your way, especially, as he pointed out, he even elaborated further on the expanded playoff. And I mean, shoot, 2020, we had no idea this was coming in 2021. We really think we're going to predict what's going to happen in 2025?
Yeah.
I mean, shoot, it could be a whole different world.
All right, Coach Drew's calling now. Armstrong, is there any way that you can take a break? You want to take a break? Let's take a break real quick, and they'll come back with Baylor men's basketball coach Scott Drew at the NBA draft last night, and then also Davion Mitchell will join us as well. And this is SicEm365 Radio. Boozers is the wedding ring store and more. If you're ready to get engaged or already married and want to upgrade your wife's ring for a special anniversary, Boozers is the place to go. With the largest selection of premier quality diamond engagement rings and wedding rings in Central Texas. They have 7 cases with over 300 styles of rings from top designers like Natalie Kay. Choose from yellow, white, or rose gold, plus beautiful top quality loose diamonds. With an in-house jewelry, they can also custom make anything you want. Bring in a picture or drawing and let Boozers create your one-of-a-kind pendant or ring. They can even use some of your old gold and diamond jewelry to create something new. At Boozers, you'll find a great selection of quality timepieces, and Boozers is the place for expert watch maintenance and repairs, too. They specialize in expert Rolex watch repair for fine jewelry, watches, custom work, and more. Go to Boozers on Valley Mills and Lake Air Drive in Waco.
Boozers, the wedding ring store.
In the market for a quality metal building? Since 1943, Pioneer Steel and Pipe has helped Central Texas residential and commercial customers with metal building design, panel options, building components, and trim options. Pioneer Steel and Pipe's residential line is energy efficient, offers low maintenance, reduces insurance payments, is impact resistant, and carries up to a 45-year limited warranty. In addition, they can also help you find a metal building contractor for your project. Pioneer Steel and Pipe with locations in Waco and Bryan and at pioneerboys.com.
Do you or your kids get nervous about going to the dentist? Stonewood Dental, Dr. Steve Childress, he can help.
I've spent a career taking care of patients who as children had bad experiences, and now they're adults that hate going to the dentist. If I get a kid at 3 years old and they come every 6 months and it's a happy experience, it's normal for them. Now they have an accident at 6 or 7 or 8 at school. Now they have a broken tooth or a trauma, and they have to come here. They're used to lights, they're used to water in their mouth, they're used to experience, they already trust us. It's amazing what we can do with that kid without it being a negative thing. But if I see a 6 or 7 or 8 year old that's never been to the dentist, and now they have a trauma or an unfortunate unexpected toothache, it's harder to do that for that kid and it not be somewhat of a negative experience. So bottom line is I try to treat kids and adults and teenagers and everybody the way I'd want my family treated, which is where it's a necessary part of life. You just take care of it. It doesn't have to be that big a deal.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
How did Edward Jones become one of the biggest financial service companies in the world? By not acting that way. Financial strategies, one-on-one advice, it's a big difference. And that's why Brad Wilson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, makes sense of investing. Experience the difference for yourself. Brad Wilson, 250 Sharon Drive in Woodway, 254-776-4337. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
This is SicEm365 Radio. Text us at 254-339-1122. The SicEm365 Radio text line is sponsored by Riverbend Liquor and Wine, with the most extensive variety of craft beer in Waco. A hidden gem on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street.
What a night it was for Baylor basketball, Baylor men's basketball with Davion Mitchell, who will join us here momentarily. Jared Butler being drafted. Maceo Teague and Mark Vital also signed. They'll be playing this summer. And Scott Drew, who is the orchestrator of the Baylor men's basketball program, but of course everybody a part of Joy, joins us. What was that like for you last night, Coach?
It was a great night for Baylor basketball, and as you said, all four now have a chance this summer to make their dreams a reality playing in the NBA. So really excited about all their opportunities. Mark with Portland, Maceo and Jared with Utah, and obviously Davion with Sacramento.
Coach, what is it about the Utah Jazz and Baylor basketball? There just seems to be such a great team there, and now you're going to have 2 more Bears heading over to that roster.
Well, I think we both have the same formula for success. I mean, both communities value high character. Both organizations value character, work ethic, being a great teammate. And you look at it, they had the best record in the NBA. We've had we won the championship this year, one of the best records in college basketball, the best in Power 5 in the last 2 years. So both of us have the same recipe for success, and they value what we value. And obviously, Dennis and Jake have the intel on that, so they're dialed in.
Scott, Jared he dropped. I thought most everyone had him as a first-round pick, and I saw your interview on ESPN with the guys that were on the set. Do you feel like in the end, did you do any kind of due diligence, or was it still because of the health issue, even though the NBA cleared him?
Yeah, so good question. How it works is the NBA, they cleared him, and it was a 3-0 vote, but still every NBA team has their own docs, and their own team doctors make their own decisions. And any of us that know, if you've ever had any injury at all, if you go to 12 different doctors, you're probably going to get 6 different answers, you know? So it really, that comes into play in decision making, but it really does more in that first contract than in the draft. And now the blessing is Jared's at Utah, and if he does well, he's in the NBA. And if he does well, he'll get to that second contract even quicker. We all know it had nothing to do with his basketball ability and what he's been able to do. But God always has a perfect plan, and it's not the number you're drafted at. Although we always want to be higher, thinking that's better. The key is to be in a situation where you get an opportunity to play and play for an organization that believes in you, and play with guys that you enjoy. And I mean, he gets all that in Utah. Great teammates, great organization, and hopefully he'll have an opportunity to prove himself.
Coach, what's it like to look back on maybe the first time you met Davion Mitchell, and then to be there with him last night, a top 10 selection, going through all the media rows and everything? I mean, just his journey and what he meant to Baylor basketball. I mean, you kind of touched on just how special and fun it is, but what a ride for that young man, huh?
I can tell you that he's probably done more interviews in the last 12 hours than he's except for the NCAA tournament in the bubble. But all those were usually one for everybody. The car wash, they really keep you busy and moving. And he's done a great job spreading our joy culture, and somebody that has put in all the work. And obviously, we've all cheered for him and seen how he's progressed during his time at Baylor. But he's progressed as much off the court as on the court, as far as he came in a high character individual, but as he became better and better with the media and the community, I mean, Sacramento's getting someone that they can really embrace.
Scott, how much have you paid attention to what's going on right now in the college football landscape and how it could affect Baylor?
Well, actually, I've been so busy with recruiting and busy with the draft, and people ask, well, what are you doing in the draft? I mean, like, literally, you're talking to teams, and even on draft night, some are asking, what are you hearing? What are you thinking? So it's a continual process until your guys get drafted. As far as the Big 12 goes, basketball, it's been the best in the country the last 7-8 years. And I know that Mac and President Livingstone are the best, to have full faith and confidence in them that they'll put Baylor and the Big 12 in the best situation possible. And I'll leave it at that. The good thing is, when you got really good people and competent people, you don't have to worry about doing their job and your job.
Yeah, no, and you're right. And you let some others, that's what they're getting paid for too. You know, you go get the players and the coaches and you go win basketball games, and you hope that they're the ones that keep everything else going. Man, do you get a break? Are you on? You go straight
got
on the road?
players on campus, like former players are back on campus.
I mean, I saw where you had Isaiah Austin, I think, or whoever is always, which says a lot about your program. We've talked to so many of them, but
Is there a chance you just get out yourself for 2 to 3, 4 days? Has that ever happened for you?
Well, I think you have to go 2 or 3, not 4 or more. It's people always want to know what you do in coaching, and I always say, how many kids do you have? And 2, 3, and if they have 4, and like we had 13, and then when you had managers walk on, that's 25. You got 25 teenagers. That will keep you busy.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
And it's not. And it used to be in college. People came when fall and spring semester was over. They were gone. And nowadays, I mean, you're around. Even when these summer sessions end, we have players that stay year round. So you're basically always on call and always here to facilitate and help. And like the summer league, we'll have 7 players playing in the summer league. So we'll go out there and support them. And you got the 4 this year just graduated. You have Ish and Freddie Gillespie with Toronto, and you have Joe Rual at your wheel with the Suns. So it'll be a busy summer league. If you like watching basketball, you'll be able to watch those Baylor Bears coming up in the summer league.
Very cool. Didn't know about all those guys just yet, so that's awesome to hear, and definitely will follow up on that. Coach, as you go out recruiting and whatnot now, is there a difference when you got national champs on your gear that's immediately noticeable?
Oh, well, definitely. I mean, people answer the phone more, and they're automatically interested. So that is, and it isn't just from the national championship. The last 2 years to be the winningest Power 5 program. That's a lot of wins, a lot of exposure, and so the good thing is recruiting is easier, but at the same time it becomes even more challenging from the standpoint now you have more people to choose from, and you got to make sure you bring in those that are best for your program and the people that fit to what's made you successful.
Scott, we appreciate it. I know it's been a long week, but it's been a great week. What a night to see all 4 have their chance now to be a part of the NBA. In fact, Davion, we think, is going to join us either in the next segment or here before we go off at 6 o'clock. Love those guys. Always enjoy having a chance to cover them because they're, as you know, great basketball players, but they're great people as well.
And I think
well, the good thing is Smoak's getting ready for football. I can tell right there.
Yeah, I know.
I was just going to say I was very happy for Jared and Davion, and I know Jared had to wait a while, but I think I was as equally happy. I don't know about you guys for Maceo and Mark after the fact to also get those calls as well. Really cool.
Absolutely.
Thank you, man.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate you.
Basketball. That's Scott Drew. And you hung up because he's probably talking to somebody about from a newspaper, outlet, radio station, TV station, about the 4 young men that are now a part of the NBA. Davion Mitchell, Jared Butler, Maceo Teague, and Mark Vidal. Good for them as well to have the opportunity to see if they can earn themselves a spot on a roster. When you're Davion Mitchell, you're a lottery pick. Jared Butler, 40th overall pick. There's investment into you as well. All right, when we come back now, we got to cut. Ross Dellenger is going to join us, SI.com. He has been heavily connected as well into this college football landscape, the change, the ups and downs, the ins and outs. He'll join us at 5, and then Davion Mitchell here will join us momentarily either in the next segment or a little bit after Ross. And this is SicEm365 Radio. Waco Custom Marketplace. You have about, an hour, 20 minutes to go find the cut of steak that you want this weekend. A big, thick bone-in ribeye or a ribeye without the bone, and or they have their bacon-wrapped fillets that are huge. And they are delicious, and every piece of the meat tastes incredibly well, whether you grill it or however you do it, even maybe reverse sear. And right now they have top sirloin steak for $6.99 a pound. They have smoky ridge links at $32.50 a pound, at $32.50 a case, and also chicken wings for $3.99 a pound. When I get steaks, I go to Waco Custom Marketplace at 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco.
At Baylor University, students find their place to shine. They're faithful friends and inspirational leaders. They're championship teammates and independent thinkers. They're on the cutting edge of high tech and in the halls of history. If you want to make the world a brighter place, you can. And if you want to shine in your own way, you can. The spark you need is already inside you. Bring it to Baylor, where lights shine bright.
Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness was built to help give you a chance to enjoy elite tennis facilities and also remain fit or reshape your body. Now Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness has gone through its own physical changes. There are 7 large flat screens stretched across the main and improved weight room with Wi-Fi available and their own app to enjoy news, business, weather, or sports channels. The beautiful sound of active treadmills and elliptical machines, group exercise classes throughout each day, a new ballet bar for bar classes, a new look lounge and bar with beer and wine with more large flat screens available. Touchless water fountains outside each spacious men's and women's locker rooms, showers, sauna, and whirlpool. Upgraded PA system throughout the world-class tennis courts and lessons for adults and juniors. I promise you'll look and feel better. You just need to walk through the front door. Also, Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness with personal trainers Christy London and Randall Corley. 40-plus group exercise classes, including twice-a-week boot camp. So start today, not tomorrow, at Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness on Lakeshore Drive in Waco.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be part of the Waco community. We're a small family business here in Central Texas. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important. And unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. And that's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through this difficult time. So if you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. You can schedule online in minutes at idealmri.com or call 833-IDEAL-MRI.
At Marco's Pizza, get craveable pizza made the Italian way with dough made from scratch, an original sauce recipe, 3 fresh signature cheeses, and premium toppings you love, served hot and safe. Right now, you can get unlimited medium one-topping pizzas for just $6.99 each. Why stop at just one? Order with your app or at marcos.com for curbside, carryout, or delivery today. Marco's, pizza lovers get it.
Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physician of Baylor Athletics. Our doctors specialize in the diagnosis and treatment of any and all sports-related injuries. Celebrating over a decade of service in Central Texas, our doctors are equipped to handle a wide range of issues, whether it's your foot or ankle, orthopedic spine care, your hand or wrist, knee and shoulder pain, or if you're in need of our arthritis or total joint clinic. Come see us at the new Baylor Scott and White Ted and Sue Getterman Sports and Orthopedic Center. Trusted doctors at Baylor Trust, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics. Our goal is to get you back in the game.
Payments are qualified buyer with 4,000 out at 2.9%. DTNL extra. See dealer for details. The road is waiting. Explore America and save during the summer savings event at Richard Carr. Savings like a 2015 Nissan Altima for $159 a month, a 2015 Infiniti QX60 for only $243 a month, or a 2015 Ford F-150 for only $393 a month. At Richard Carr, 100% credit approval is always the goal. Log on or get here now and save in the summer savings event at Richard Carr.
At Richard Carr, we give you more.
Welcome back to SicEm365 Radio. Have you subscribed to our YouTube channel? Do it today by searching SicEm365 on YouTube.
All right, a couple of texts to get to. Calls available, 254-339-1122. And as I told you at the start of the show in the first segment, when I'm done and Craig's done and Armstrong and Marquise run the mothership today, then what I've done, when I can, is go back and then open up the text line, and there might be 8, 10, 15, or 20 of you who are watching parts of a replay and texting as you do, and we're on 3 to 6 live, but I'm going to try to do that when I can, kind of like a chat at night on a website or a message board, whatever. Not going to be able to do that all the time, but if you're texting, I'm going to try to get to it. If anything, if we don't, please don't stop. And also the chat room just keeps blowing up. Just absolutely blowing up. This is from the 405. Do you guys see that West Virginia lead? That they're leaving the Big 12, most likely for the ACC, so ESPN is getting their way as they want. I haven't seen that. I've been on the air. I don't know if that's true. Be careful what you think, you see, read, or what is being reported. Russ Dellenger is going to join us at 5, and I'll even ask him if he's kind of seen that. And Craig's monitoring that all the time. If someone leaves or someone shows interest, hey.
Here's the thing with West Virginia. Again, do they add value? If they do, that's great. But at the same time, the ACC is not exactly the most stable right now either. Yes, they do have a television, rights deal and all that has another, like a bunch of years still left on it. I think it was like 2036 or something like that, unless I'm misremembering. So, the thing about that is the ACC staying pat? Are they planning on adding teams? And based on what I was reading a few days ago, it seems like the best bet for West Virginia to enter the ACC would have been for Notre Dame to also join the ACC. Notre Dame's made no indication that will happen, and I really don't know why it would why they would want to make that move. They are far better off as an independent. If the ACC forced that move, then maybe that leads to a West Virginia invite to make it a nice round even number. I have seen that scenario, but the Notre Dame thing, again, just doesn't appear likely at this point. So, I haven't seen anything concrete that leads me to believe that West Virginia and the ACC is on the track to happening. I know a lot of people out there have sources, and some of them are very valid and all that, but most of the stuff that I've seen from that end of things is much like Texas Tech fans with a Pac-12 post I saw just a little while ago where the Pac-12 commissioner tweeted about needing to read up on Robert's Rules of Order with all the stuff that's going on. And there was 5 Texas Tech fans with guns up gifs in the messages. And so to me, that's kind of along the same lines of there's not necessarily anything really to it to point to at this moment other than just speculation and rumors, but there is a lot of wishful thinking on the parts of those teams, and I understand that.
From the 662, instead of all the hand-wringing, gnashing of the teeth, I encourage others to do something constructive like donate to the BBF, which is the Baylor Bears Foundation, as an incentive for others. Is there any way to give a badge on their profile? I'm not sure about how the text line works.
Talking for the website, I would believe.
That's for Brian, Ashley, and also Colt. Okay, thank you for wherever you are, driving throughout the state of Texas, flying in and out, any country. We've had Mexico City call in, and, of course, about 35 or 40 of the states. Armstrong, back to the calls on SicEm365 Radio.
Yeah, we have Alex from Texas, I believe.
Alex, where are you in Texas?
I am, let me take off speaker real quick, fellas. I am in San Antonio.
Okay, San Antonio. I love San Antonio. Go for it. What's on your mind?
Well, first of all, as an alum from South Carolina, and my wife went to West Virginia, so this kind of affects both of us. First of all, Texas fans, let me say something. Now that you're in the SEC, when you say UT, they won't be thinking of Texas. And you guys will not have nowhere near the power you think you have that you had in the Big 12 and the SEC. Let's say the big boy in the SEC is Alabama, and you guys are nowhere near the level of Alabama. Now, having said that, from what I understand, from talking to my wife and all her people who go to West Virginia, they like being in the Big 12. So I don't know if the ACC is a certainty. And I was also thinking, I think the Big 8 should stick together because one school is great basketball and one school is great football. So why can't the 4 teams, if you guys want to go to 12, do the same thing? Like Boise State, they're good at football but not good at basketball. Or Houston, they're good at basketball but not football. I was thinking along the lines for that, so you guys can stick around because I like the Big 12. You guys bring something different that other conferences don't bring. The SEC, I disagree with them bringing in Texas and Oklahoma, but that's out of my hands. But like I said, enjoy your guys' show and appreciate it. And I just found you guys from this SEC merger, and you guys have a really good show, and I appreciate you.
Thank you, man. Appreciate you. And you say he is a West Virginia fan, is that right? I
believe so, yeah.
We have heard of the main fan bases. I would think West Virginia, Brigham Young, UCF, and Memphis are some of the top 4, not to mention there's others, but we appreciate that. And, but see, here's the thing. This is not about men's basketball. As much as we love what Scott Drugis had, and we had him on, and what Duke brings to the table or what Kansas in basketball brings to the table, it's all about football when it comes to this realignment or whatever expansion or whatever changes are going on, although men's basketball is absolutely a revenue-producing sport.
Yeah, and one thing we need to talk about at some point, I know we're going to take some calls here, but Pete Thamel has an article out over the last hour, and he's got Ohio State AD Gene Smith, who said that He thinks the pause button should be hit on playoff expansion, and that's not the first time I've seen that today. He also said they need to evaluate the landscape and what it's going to look like. We still need to evaluate the 12-team playoff, but we don't need to rush into that when there's legitimate concerns that need to be addressed. And Smith, I guess, was also referencing how the fundamental nature of just college athletics. I mean, you see this meeting being called by the NCAA, which it turns out is going to be virtual. It's going to be this big important meeting is going to be a virtual meeting, from what I saw a few minutes ago. So,
you wonder how much. Now, one thing as well, the Big Ten, the Pac-12 guy's already made his comments too, Craig, and so you do this expansion and you build this super conference to the fact if you go to 8, 10, or 12 or 16 playoff teams, if it stays at 4 and you're Texas and Oklahoma and you do leave early, didn't you maybe just cut yourself or possibly out of being a part of the playoff anytime soon?
Well, I guess it would pay to be one of those fans who just cares about the money aspect. There clearly seems to be a lot of those. I've seen a lot of UT and OU fans that are like, yeah, even if we lose a few more times a year, it'll be worth it for the road trips and the security and all of that. And I know.
How much of that money goes to the fans?
No, none of it. I've made that. I've made that case and made fun of that entire thing. Like, it's not your money. But anyways, going back to the Gene Smith thing, everybody around the country just saw what ESPN tried to pull. And even if ESPN's denying it, I think we all know. And I think these athletic directors who know ESPN better than anybody all know what really happened, right? They tried to force this move with OU and Texas because who would it benefit besides two brands that they obviously love? It benefits ESPN. They could dump the Longhorn network. They get Oklahoma and Texas into the conference that they've been building up. And I'm not knocking the SEC for that, but it's absolutely, irrefutable that that ESPN has played a massive role in the elevation of the SEC. So that's in their best interest. And I think some of the other officials in college football right now that aren't directly tied to this, such as Ohio State AD Gene Smith, are going, wait a second, we're just going in the direction of everything that ESPN wants. And maybe we need to kind of take a step back before they basically just control the entire thing. So I think that if anything, Bob Bowlesby pushing back, or at least just this shift, could actually bring on some unintended consequences. One of those being a potential pause on moving forward with the expanded playoff. But yeah, I think there's a lot of teams that are looking around right now at the ESPN role in this and going, wait a second, this isn't good for the sport. This isn't good for our conference. This isn't, it's great if you're the SEC. It's great if you're the American. But, there's other teams with Fox deals. And so, it's the grumbling is becoming very interesting.
Yeah, and don't think that even though he has had something that has hurt him, has bruised him, and probably in some ways crushed him, Bob Bowlesby is not on an island by himself when it comes to the college football world and administrators and landscape. And so who knows? Maybe there's some that have tried to pick his brain, even though he needs to be focused about what the future is with the Big 12.
Here's from Thamel's article. The acquisitions of OU and Texas fortifies the SEC as the dominant brand in the sport, as it owns the SEC network and all of the SEC's relevant television rights starting in the summer of 2024. They also run the ACC network and own those conference rights through 2036, but that deal is widely viewed as so lopsided toward ESPN that's an impediment for the league's future. And that's why the whole jump into the ACC thing is that's not even a concrete deal, guys. They're not a super conference on the level of the SEC, obviously, but they got a bad contract. It's in ESPN's favor. So that alone could be a little bump in the road. And then it goes on to say the notion among many leaders around the sport, why allow ESPN access to the most valuable set of rights around the sport without other bidders to drive up the price? Because if this is all about money, basically ESPN's trying to wedge its way in and just have all of this control. But why would you not want Fox to be able to have the ability to say, well, wait a second, we're going to offer this for this. And so, it all comes back to money. And if they feel like they're losing out on money somehow and power, and too much of it's tipping in the favor of ESPN, well, clearly some are starting to notice that and aren't necessarily in favor of that, which is interesting.
Football. Gene Smith canceled college football in 2020. SEC ignored him and played early. He's a wallflower. He had no choice but to react and play. But I'll tell you right now, he still is the commissioner of, right now, money-wise, as powerful of a conference as there is. And that does mean something. It does, even though last year I didn't like 90% of his decisions within the Big Ten. All right, Armstrong, who do we have? I know we got Ross Dellenger coming up in just a minute. Who else? You got anybody else?
Yes, we have. Let's see here.
I got a text, by the way, from Wisconsin. Go Badgers, saying that they found us on the channel, and we appreciate you and following us on SicEm365 Radio.
I believe this is Dean in Florence, it says.
Dean in Florence. Is that Italy, or is that Florence, Texas, or Alabama?
No, Florida.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Florida.
I struck out at all three. I'm out. I'm going back to the dugout.
Yeah.
Thank you, buddy. Appreciate your time. What's up?
Yeah, I'm just following up on what you guys are talking about. Do you think the average college fan realizes how ESPN is the most powerful entity in college sports, especially in football? And I always hear about everyone, bashing on the NCAA, and we all have our problems with what they do. But ESPN is controlling all of this, and I don't think the fans know how much they really control, and all their anger about this should be directed to them. And on top of it, don't you believe the national media, has the amount of glee I hear from the national media, and especially at ESPN, about what's going on in college football and mocking the schools that may be left behind and the fans that left behind, and especially at ESPN. I just think it's unbelievable that fans do not realize what power they run college football, and all the minions that go on their shows and do the line, what they hear from their bosses and the other college football analysts. And I would wish when you talk to these, all you get your national writers, and it's supposed to ask them about why doesn't anyone speak out on ESPN on how they are ruining, I believe, college football.
There's a lot of people who agree with you on that, and I do think that the pendulum is so powerful for them that sometimes that it can get a little bit wacky. The schools love the money, though. The conferences love the money.
And I think a lot of the people that you hear not talking about ESPN in that regard are people who are benefiting from the ESPN relationship.
Like all 16 of the teams in the SEC, or at least 14 with 2 others about to join them, and a few others too.
But I will tell you this, speaking of articles about ESPN, the one that I've been referencing here over the last few minutes, if you want a good look at ESPN's role and potentially their role in the future, here's another paragraph excerpt, but it's from Pete Thamel over at Yahoo Sports, and it's a really interesting read that's got, Gene Smith with some comments, also an unnamed athletic director. So it says it's not.
By the way, who said Gene Smith, who was the commissioner? He's at Ohio State, right?
Ohio State AD Gene Smith. It says it's not uncommon among major pro sports like the NFL and NBA to have multiple networks broadcast their postseason. Also, that would take perhaps an additional $500 million of ESPN's dollars a year off the table that could theoretically be directed towards upcoming rights to leagues like the upcoming deals of the Big Ten in 2023 and the Pac-12 in 2024. Why allow ESPN access to the most valuable set of rights around the sport without other bidders to drive up the price? And I'll end it here. An unnamed Power 5 athletic director outside the Big Ten. It behooves everyone not named the SEC and the ACC for the college football playoff rights to go to market. It's in all of our best interest of other leagues to let the contract through and go to open market. Why would a streaming service want to bid on a league like the Big Ten or Pac-12 to carry the regular season if they are just going to hand it over to ESPN for the playoffs? And it speaks to growing discomfort around the country about ESPN owning the entire playoffs, setting up the stakes for the playoff, and having influence. So, again, to your point, there are some people talking about it, and if you're interested in that side of things, Pete Thamel's article on Yahoo's a good read.
All right, just text Ross Dellenger, SI.com. He will join us in the next segment. He's been tied into all of this, even some of the new news today. We knew that Texas and Oklahoma were going to say, okay, we'll come see you at the SEC. They did. The ADs in the Big 12 met, and really what they continue to do, and it may frustrate the hell out of some of you among the remaining 8, is stay tight, stay patient. It's not easy, but in the end, that's best for us. Well, I'm sure they're also making calls. And we heard the note about the NCAA wants to have some sort of a meeting. Hey, welcome to the show, NCAA.
Yeah, where you
and
been?
Even what Gene Smith just may have said as well. We appreciate you, the text, the YouTube, the chat. And next, Ross Dellenger, SI.com on SicEm365 Radio. Impact Research Institute, they had their grand opening ribbon cutting this past week. In fact, on Wednesday, Dr. Gunn was there. What they do is find out whether or not you might have fatty liver disease, and if you do, they try to help you find a way to combat it. Also, they might find a way of why. Like, what's the deal? What's going on? This could come from diabetes, obesity, high blood pressure, and high cholesterol. Non-alcoholic fatty liver disease has conditions like I mentioned. And so what can they do? They can detect it. How? Because of screenings. And also tied into one of our other sponsors, Ideal MRI. I had a screening about a month or 6 weeks ago. They didn't find anything. I didn't expect them to. But even if you're healthy and in great shape, you're young, you can still get fatty liver disease. So why not make sure you don't? And if, in fact, you ever hear about it and you're concerned about it, then you need to get a hold of Dr. Gunn and Impact Health Institute, direct counseling. And, oh, by the way, if you participate in a clinical trial with compensation if you qualify, think about that. Impact Research Institute in the Fish Pond Medical Plaza in Waco.
Make This the Summer sales event is going on now at Allen Samuels. If you want sport and luxury, you got to drive the new 2021 Chrysler 300S, where you can get up to $5,500 in total values or 0% for 72 months, plus $2,000 in bonus cash and no payments for 90 days. Allen Samuels, 201 West Loop 340.
Come by. Let's be friends.
See dealer for details. All offers have credit requirements.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Cam Heathcott, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Cam Heathcott, covering Conroe and Houston, 936-756-7717 or cam.heathcott@edwardjones.com. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Boots add protection. Good boots help you climb better and move forward faster. And when your son or daughter steps into the boots of a U.S. Army officer, they also learn how to lead. In these boots, they'll gain more confidence with expert training in one of more than 150 occupational specialties. In these boots, they'll stand a little taller and lead a team with diverse backgrounds and areas of expertise to successfully accomplish whatever challenge comes next. In these boots, they'll earn respect with valuable experience from day one that will give them solid footing for success into the future. Highly qualified candidates who earn a spot on our team can receive comprehensive health care coverage, college tuition assistance, and a bonus of up to $40,000. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
Don Humidor, your home with a 48-foot walk-in humidor with the elite cigar brands from around the world, including the #1 cigar of the year, Aging Room Cuatro Nicaragua. Plus, they have the great brands like Macanudo and Artur Fuente, Rocky Patel, Aston, and so much more. CBD, great for sore muscles, aches and pains, sleep, Vita Dreams, and anxiety, mild depression, general health and wellness. Their staff very knowledgeable on the subject. If anyone is curious about CBD, ask Carol and Ashley. Don Humidor in the Townwood Shopping Center off Valley Mills in Waco.
In Texas, there's pea-size hail and baseball-size hail. Guess which one hit our house? We didn't even know where to begin, but we called our Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent, and he was so reassuring. He knew exactly what to do to get our house back into shape and our lives back to normal. Now, we're even more thankful for the roof over our heads.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Welcome back to SicEm365 Radio.
Oh, step back. Beautiful on the score for Snead.
The 5 o'clock hour is sponsored by Edward Jones Investments with financial advisor Tom Albers, staying in touch with you and your money through these difficult and changing times. Edward Jones, making sense of investing.
Now here's David Smoak and Craig Smoak.
Appreciate the text lines continue to blow up. The YouTube chat continues. Your calls from throughout the numerous states around the country since the story from Brett Zwerneman last Wednesday. And my goodness, college football has been put on its ear. And one guy, Ross Dellenger, SI.com, has done a great job, as tied in as anybody else with what is the goings on. And everyone knows the story, maybe knows. Ross, we've tried to get you on for about 2 weeks. Well, hell, it was pretty bad timing on my part, right? With all the stuff that started breaking a week and a half ago.
Yeah, it's been a pretty crazy 10 days. You know, I saw it last summer with the COVID stuff, and the social injustice stuff was pretty busy. But then came this year with college football playoff and now realignment here.
Well, so go ahead, Craig. You know, we see where we are now. Nothing changed other than, you know, we knew Texas and Oklahoma say, okay, yeah, we want to do this. Now the NCAA wants to have some kind of forum or quorum or whatever, which is a little bit late. Now you're starting to see Gene Smith and others say, hey, wait a minute, this expansion, maybe we're going too fast. Where are we with that? And has this, with the SEC and Texas and Oklahoma, perhaps pushed that back a little bit?
Yeah, I believe we're probably looking at some delay in the college football playoff. I was out west in L.A. on Monday and Tuesday at Pac-12 Media Day, and I came away from that, and I wrote a story on SI on Tuesday night that it was probably going to be delayed. That was the sense that I got from talking to people out there out west, is that there was a delay coming to the expansion because, partly at least, because of the realignment. And it's not the only reason. There were certainly issues with the expansion model before the realignment stuff happened, but I think that was kind of the final straw for a couple of reasons. You know, Greg Sankey was involved in a working group of creating this model over the last 2 years and finalizing it over the last few months. And, you know, while he was finalizing it, he was potentially in discussion with Texas and Oklahoma. And so he kind of knew that the SEC may grow by 2 teams. So it's a little bit, administrators might say, compromising the model. And then there's another big issue here with this, is that you could have more realignment. You could have more movement now that you had such a huge splash. You could have dominoes falling everywhere else that could cause this to, just push pause on it. And then I'll say there's, you know, even before the realignment, there was some discussion, and we wrote about it last week at SEC Media Days, of how the Rose Bowl and how the contract could be a hang-up in CFP expansion. And I think one of the big hang-ups is the contract with the CFP and ESPN. You have a expansion model that is as lucrative as anything to come out of college football ever. And you're going to only allow one media rights holder, ESPN, to basically bid on it because the contract doesn't end until 2025. If you waited till 2026, you would have an open market where everybody could bid on this very lucrative idea. And so I think that we're heading, it feels like, toward a more delayed college football playoff expansion. I think we're still going to get there, but it's just going to be delayed.
Ross, you were listening into Greg Sankey appeared on the Feinbaum show, and he had a lot of interesting comments. What was of most interest to you that you heard?
Well, it was a lot of the same stuff. Greg Sankey came out yesterday, I think probably in response to a couple stories from us at SI and then from The Athletic over the college football playoff, and how administrators, like I just mentioned, believe that there should be a delay because of several reasons, and a pause should be pushed in it. And so he came out speaking, I don't want to say against that, but he certainly was telling his side of the story, saying that, the model wasn't compromised, shouldn't be looked at as being compromised, because he was on the committee that created it and might have known that realignment was coming. He also said that the SEC, and he said this for months now, was not really clamoring for a playoff, an expanded playoff. He has said many times that the playoff can stay at 4 teams, that would be okay to him. And he reasserted that on Feinbaum.
You believe him on that last part?
Kind of, I guess. With the SEC growing to 16 teams and adding 2 big brands like Texas and Oklahoma, I think it would now probably behoove the SEC to have more teams available to participate in the playoff. And it makes a lot of sense. And that's why, again, some administrators believe that maybe the model was compromised a little bit because of all this that has happened, and Sankey being on the working group. So either way, the SEC is probably going to be fine. It'd probably get 1 or 2 teams in a 14 playoff, but you take it to 12 or even more, and the SEC is liable to have half or more than half of the field in a playoff. It's certainly possible, and that is another fear from administrators. So there's probably going to be, depending on how realignment shakes out, there's probably going to be some tweaks and tinkering going on with the format, whether it's adding more teams or putting some kind of cap, maybe automatic berths for certain conferences. I don't know. It'll be interesting to watch.
Ross, there's so many rumors flying around right now. So a lot of college football fans are obviously very interested and affected by this. We've heard about, the Pac-12 and the Big Ten talking. We've heard about, the ACC may feel a little unsteady due to that ESPN contract. And obviously the Big 12 is just kind of in a weird position as it is right now. What storyline perhaps or maybe something along the lines of further expansion have you maybe had interest in, or are you putting some stock into, if any?
Yeah, it's really hard to predict the next domino in realignment that will fall. And you get the feeling, of course, I'm going to say this, and then, in an hour we'll have some big, huge breaking news, but you get the feeling that no one is really rushing to this. That's just, again, the feeling I get is that maybe this will slow down a little bit, but at some point there will be more dominoes, because I don't think conferences are going to sit idle when the SEC goes to 16 members, which is the biggest in the nation. Not only that, but adds the 2 big brands like they've added. Now, for right now, they're not going to be joining the SEC to compete until 2025. Although you can imagine that being moved up. It doesn't feel like conferences are rushing out, but there's certainly a lot of options and speculation out there, specifically with the remaining Big 12, the 8 remaining members. And I'm sure they'll be enticed potentially to go elsewhere. I'm sure that some of them are knocking on others' doors, and others probably don't have a choice to go anywhere. And they're trying to hold the line, hold the 8 together, and maybe at some point pick up 2 to 4 to 6 new members from a group of 5 conference.
Ross Dellenger, SI.com. Follow him on Twitter. He does an incredible job with covering college football. Ross, with what Bob Bowlesby did and what he said to ESPN, what he's already said to Texas, Oklahoma, which of course is part of the grant of rights and whatever they can possibly get in the end, there's a lot of people that first of all, how did he not know? Well, hardly anybody did. That's why the story was a shocker when it was cut open, a week and a half ago. But that's the only really choice they have right now, right? Is it for somehow patience, 8 teams stay together, at least get something out of this, and then, as you said, maybe be calling other people. But was it a ballsy move, in your opinion, what he did to ESPN?
Oh yeah, it certainly was, and you gotta wonder what the future of that relationship would be between the Big 12 and ESPN. And I think for Bob Bowlesby to do that, he as he told us, and multiple other media outlets, that he has irrefutable evidence, that documentation that ESPN conspired with another conference to try to raid the Big 12 and thus dissolving it, and thus saving ESPN contractual TV money and potentially allowing Texas and Oklahoma to break free with no penalty if the league would dissolve. That was kind of the end goal. So in order to levy those allegations publicly and in a formal letter, I would imagine that he has some kind of real hard proof. And I don't know if he takes it the next step and goes to court. I guess if he learns that it's still continuing, although ESPN says it never happened and it has no merit, but if he learns it's still continuing, I would imagine he would take the next step.
Ross, appreciate it. How was California? Was that you were on? I tweeted at you because I tried to get you on. I know you were on vacation, and in the middle of that, you're having to report something. So our job is never done. But did you have a great time? Did you get a little break? Because obviously there's not one right now.
No break. I didn't even go to the beach in LA. I always find myself going to the beach, and I never even had a chance to do that. So I'm finishing up a story now. Hope to have the weekend free, but who knows? Ross, thanks for being a part when you are with our show. Thank you so much. Have a great weekend. All right, guys. See you. Ross Dellenger with SI.com.
Yeah, and he had a couple of quotes. I was looking through his timeline, and I hadn't had a chance to earlier today. And we have had basically a follow-up, but we had Oklahoma State fans, calling the last couple of days and wondering, will Bedlam continue, and what's the future for Oklahoma State, and things like that. Well, OU's, I believe it was OU's president did comment that they want to play Oklahoma State in every sport every year. So they're not looking to get rid of Bedlam, at least the way that they said it. So I think that no matter where Oklahoma State sits at that point, that at least makes you feel good that Bedlam is, based on what he said, going to continue in all sports moving forward. How they do that with the schedule, especially having an SEC loaded schedule, I'm not quite sure, but that'll be their big marquee non-con game.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting because their non-conference schedule, Oklahoma's never been afraid to pretty much play anybody. They played a lot of SEC teams, and I know they've lost some playoff games to them as well, but they're not afraid to play anybody. And Texas has loaded up their schedule with some of the teams that are about to be at some point. And it isn't interesting they're playing Alabama like the next couple of years, as if maybe that was something that's, let's go play them and get a feel. They haven't played since, 2009. But, yeah, I would love for Bedlam to continue because obviously we know what happened with realignment, expansion, whatever else will happen with Texas and A&M and also Nebraska, Oklahoma.
Yeah, but that wasn't all that was interesting that he had to say. It was funny, and a lot of people did comment on this. Like, Texas's entrance into the SEC was like, it took minutes, and Oklahoma was just dragging out. I don't know what the delay was, but it was like an hour later that they finally made it official after Texas had. But OU's president also went on to say that it became clear the Big 12 was last in line with media rights. But perhaps most interesting, and this also related to Oklahoma State, OU's president said that they wanted to include Oklahoma State in the move to the SEC, but, quote, that's not what the market we're pursuing allows. So you can read that however you want to, but basically I read that as like there wasn't any interest on the part of the Southeastern Conference to probably include Oklahoma State. And maybe because they've got bigger plans in store or just they didn't see the need to. I don't know, but that's what OU's president said, so take that for what it's worth.
And that might be, trying to some sort of try to soften the blow. But if you're Oklahoma State, you're pissed. If you're Texas Tech, you've always also had a chance, with all due respect, to kind of have, be at the hip of Texas like the last time some of these rumblings were going on. Remember Texas Tech in Texas and Oklahoma State. And it's always, Baylor or TCU where they're like, well, TCU wasn't even a part of the conference, I think. Well, they weren't back when A&M left and Missouri left and Nebraska and Colorado left. And they're always kind of looking around. If you're Iowa State and Kansas State, I don't care. You hear about they're looking around. But very intriguing as things continue to fall and stories continue to mount. And
we know a couple things now. Realignment is not over, but it might be taking a little bit it might be, lowering the speed limit a little bit. Instead of going 75 like we have been for the last 7 to 10 days, we might now, be in the neighborhoods and going 30 or 35 for a little while. But who knows, man? Everybody's waiting on what that next shoe to drop is. But the far most interesting story to me from today is not Oklahoma and Texas, because that was a foregone conclusion, and that was, there was no doubts that was going to happen. But it is certainly that all of a sudden there's a few people around the country going, wait a second, let's press a little bit of a pause. And I was referencing that Pete Thamel article, and Ross just referenced it as well. Why give ESPN all the rights, all the power, all of this and all that, when if you just wait out these playoff contracts and whatnot, you can have Amazon come to the table. You can have Netflix come to the table. You can have any service come to the table as long as they got the moolah to do it. And I would imagine with the direction we've gone as far as cable, that Amazon, with their more money that increases bankroll, will be interested in bidding on some stuff like that. And that could be the parachute for a conference out there that currently looks like it's maybe a little dinged up. So fascinating stuff, and I do think the best play for college football is probably I know the best thing for college football as a whole is for them to go to the open market with these contracts. But I know that's probably not what the SEC wants because of their relationship with ESPN nor the ACC, as Thamel said and as Ross alluded to. So that's fascinating.
Yeah, it's whatever we're talking about today, it could change by 4 o'clock tomorrow afternoon or by the time we're back on the air Monday. By the way, I said this earlier, we will have some other analysts from around the country, including I've reached out to UCF, also Memphis and Brigham Young, to get their feedback from those who cover that program, and of course what we do anyway with our writers, analysts, and different people. Here's from the 806. I'm going to do this and take a break. I have not heard from the Kings in a while. There's might a little bit of a fly in the ointment, but we'll still try to get Davion Mitchell between now and the time we go off the air. I hope we do. Curious about the amount of money being thrown around by ESPN. I glanced at their part of Disney's financials. ESPN is 1/3 the size of Hulu, 1/20th of Disney Plus. Disney has a history of carving off and selling their losing assets. My question is, was ESPN told to put up or shut up? Remove the Longhorn Network, take the remainders of the Big 12 to the ACC or the AAC, build the Super SEC. We all assume that someone unaccustomed to losing will be the victim of the new SEC, and it could draw fewer eyes if the product doesn't live up to the expectations. Litigation for the Big 12 could cost a few bucks. My dream scenario, an ESPN fire sale, followed by a few hot checks landing in Austin and Norman. Would love for another player like Netflix or YouTube to take on all of us poor leftovers, probably to invest in all of this craziness. I've enjoyed your coverage. Curious what you think about my tinfoil hat theory. That's from John in the 806. I think is that Lubbock? But John, Thank you very much. That's a great text and a lot of information in between. All right.
No, I absolutely agree with that. I think that if you're one of these, schools out there that your future is not as certain and you're not, tied to the hip like the SEC and well, the SEC's got a great deal. The ACC does not have a great deal, but they are technically tied to the hip with ESPN, which is why there are rumblings about, potentially Florida State and Clemson and others maybe joining the SEC at some point or another. But that will be a whole ordeal into itself. I don't think you're really far off base, and obviously none of us really know for sure. I would think, though, that Disney – I wouldn't necessarily say that like the folks at Disney are the ones pushing this. I think it's probably just a top of the chain at ESPN type of thing pushing it more so than anything. But, some other outside influence because they see the opportunities that are there for the taking. I wouldn't be surprised if Disney executives or whatever were involved and said, oh, yeah, I like that idea. Let's pursue that. But I would think that it's probably the what's that guy, Burke Magnus over at ESPN that Bob Bowlesby went back and forth with. I would imagine he's more of a guy that's pushing that than, anybody involved with the entire Disney empire. But who knows? I mean, it's obviously a massive amount of money we're talking about and a massive change to the landscape. And if you're Disney, I think you're probably in love with the idea that your brand ESPN would have that type of control. So absolutely. But Amazon, Hulu, or not Hulu, but Amazon, Netflix. I mean, whoever wants to jump on board, maybe Hulu, I guess. But there's other opportunities out there as the future sort of changes.
715 Wisconsin. Who do you think the Big Ten could add? I haven't added members in a while, but they have to be looking at what is happening and game on. I don't think they have to add anybody right now. There has been the speculation and talk, which is exactly that, speculation, rumor, and talk about the possibility of looking at a couple of valuable pieces in the Pac-12. I would think right now that they just need to sit back, and I think you're going to see a few people, even though everyone, let's go, is maybe take a deep breath, see when the dust settles, and it may never settle, and then see what you do. But they're in okay position. Big Ten's fine. Believe me, that's a powerful, rich conference. And yes, they'll counter with the SEC. And just like when a team builds a stadium with 100,000, their rival builds one with 101,000, and then 104,000, and 105,000. And one of the interesting notes about Oklahoma and Texas, both have very large stadiums, UT 100,000 or so. There are like 5 or 6 teams, I think, in the SEC with larger enrollment, or not enrollment, capacity. I know Tennessee's huge.
Yeah.
We know that A&M has got a massive place, what they've done with the renovated and new Kyle Field in recent years. Let's see. I'm not sure LSU's maybe.
Kyle Field is the number 4 biggest, behind Michigan, which is number 1 at 107 plus
Penn
thousand.
State 2.
Penn State's 2. Ohio State's 3.
So give me the top 10. I'm curious.
Okay, so
A&M.
Michigan, Penn State, Ohio State, A&M at 4, Tennessee at 5, LSU at 6, Texas at 7, Alabama 8, Georgia 9.
So there you go.
California
and
10.
Texas, of course, is added, and they got that end zone project that's getting closer and closer. And you know what? Someone will build one that's 110. It'll be 115.
Oh, yeah.
When we come back, Armstrong, do some calls right here. We'll check in on Davion Mitchell if we can. What do you want to do? Take some calls. Take a break first and then come back and take some more calls. Craig, you have Richard Carr. This is SicEm365 Radio.
Richard Carr, Buick GMC Cadillac. I'm actually about to hit the road for a little bit of a long weekend coming up here in about 30 minutes from now. And for a long time, I was riding a junker. I mean, paint was falling off, rims were torn to shred. I mean, it was just a car that was too old and too bad to be driving anymore. And 2 summers ago, in this Texas heat that is just absurd at the moment, as it typically is, I was having to drive in that old junker with no AC. During the summer months. That was not fun. Eventually, I was able to get into a new vehicle, and man, the difference in just being able to drive somewhere and not have to worry about the AC being clunky, or worry about the air in your tires constantly going down, or worry about this falling off or this piece being messed up. Just having that peace of mind in a new or used vehicle, that's invaluable. So right now, travel's back. A lot of you are on the roads, and a lot of you could probably use an upgrade in your vehicles for a little bit more comfort. That's why you need to take advantage of the summer savings event right now at Richard Carr Motors. You can get back on the road with space, safety, and luxury with a Buick vehicle. Right now, well-qualified buyers can get 0% financing for 72 months on most 2021 Buick SUVs. And Richard Carr is also loaded with plenty of premium pre-owned cars and trucks, all of them priced to move with great savings on multiple cars and trucks across the lot that will get you back on the road this summer. And every pre-owned vehicle goes through a 172-point inspection before it ever hits their lot. With dozens of lenders, Richard Carr says yes when others say no, because 100% credit approval is always their goal. And if you're here in the Central Texas area, I know we got a lot of national listeners right now, but if you are in the greater Waco area, Richard Carr's your local hometown dealership, and they want to give the community a chance. They want to earn your business. They want to give you great prices, free oil changes on new cars and trucks, and, of course, superior service after the sale. So you can come by the dealership and take a test drive, or speaking of that superior service, they will take the test drive to you. All you got to do is call them up, bring them up, and set up an appointment. You can't get out for whatever reason, they'll bring the vehicle you're looking to test drive to wherever you are. It's a summer savings event going on all month at Richard Carr.
1, 2. I'm in love with a man named Rudy.
fall in love with Rudy's Tasty Oak Smoked Barbecue.
Next in line.
It's time to fire up the grill, heat up the oven, or get that deep fryer going to enjoy the top quality products at Waco Custom Marketplace. Order 30-pound sacks of live crawfish by 6 on Wednesday. Pick up on Friday afternoon after 2 or Saturday. Enjoy the weekend. 30-pound sacks of live crawfish available right now for $4.25 a pound. Find all the crawfish boil ingredients you need, including red beef potatoes, sausage, corn cobbettes, and Louisiana boil seasoning. Make your order for live crawfish by Wednesday at 6. Pick up on Friday after 2 or all day Saturday, and enjoy the weekend. Waco Custom Marketplace, your home for fresh baked kolache, cinnamon rolls every day. Butcher shop to cut your steaks the way you want. Fresh seafood, summer sausage, boudin, house-cured and smoked bacon, spices, seasonings, soup mixes, and more, and weekly gift boxes for any occasion. Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco, or WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
It takes time to reach goals. It's a truth that applies to more than sports. It goes for your financial goals as well. You work hard for your money, and you deserve an investment strategy that lines up with your game plan. And Tom Albers, your Edward Jones financial advisor, can help. If your financial investments aren't putting forth the effort you desire, stop by today for a financial review. Tom Albers, 4301 Lakeshore Drive, 254-776-7605. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
You want to know why Stonewood Dental is so successful? Listen to what happy customers have to say.
It's pleasant. It's different than any other dentist office. I really feel like they care. And it's not that you're here for 2 hours waiting on someone to take care of you. It's quick and easy, and I bring my kids, and my kids love being here too. They really love the treasure box. Staff is really nice and accommodating, real friendly. You feel more like home. It's not sterile looking. Everybody has their own personalized rooms with decorations and decor, and they'll even have a blanket for you when it's cold. I've recommended people to actually come here, and they are patients now. I really love it here. It feels like family.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible challenge. Hi, this is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like First Free Checking, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. The First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender. Welcome back to SicEm365 Radio.
The SicEm365 Radio app is sponsored by Allen Samuels Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat in Waco. Your friend in the car business at Loop 340 and east of 84. Come by. Let's be friends.
Alex in Ohio, big picture thinking. 10, 15 years, you'll have 2 top-tier college football leagues, an expanded SEC, a second Western Super Conference. They'll play 9 or 10 conference game schedules, allowed to have crossovers with other conferences. Everyone else that doesn't make the cut, the top 2 super conferences, falls to a lower division, and they'll call that D1 or whatever they want and let the NCAA run it. And it's no different. You have Division I, the FBS, the FCS, the Division III, JUCO, NAIA. All right, let's go back to the calls. Craig Smoak, David Smoak, SicEm365 Radio. Paul Catalina is out today. He'll be back Monday, and I'll be back with Paul on Monday. Armstrong, Sims, and Marquise run the mothership. All right?
All right, we got Kyle in Washington, I believe.
Kyle, Washington State, is that where you are?
D.C., it looks like.
Okay.
Hello, how you doing?
Hey, we're doing great.
Yeah,
great to
show.
have you. Thank you, sir.
First of all, let me say I grew up in Texas. I went to college at Oklahoma State, so I really understand the culture of football in both those places. And the one thing that, in fact, our high school football quarterback actually played.
Hello?
Do we have you? Did we lose you?
No, I'm in Washington, D.C.
Yeah, no, we know that, but we lost your signal for a second. You had a quarterback that played. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, I have to call back?
No.
No, you got cut off. You had a quarterback that played, and that's where we stopped hearing you, so just you could pick up from there.
Gotcha.
Okay.
No, he's listening back to the radio.
Yeah,
that's what
you got to turn down the radio. We got to go. Listen, we don't like say screw you or anything. We got to go on. We love the calls, the feedback, all of that. But you got to turn down your TV or whatever it is.
Turn off your radio, your YouTube or whatever. You got to turn that off.
Otherwise, there's the delay that's going on. Yeah. Armstrong, who do we have? And call back if you're from D.C. We'll try to get you back. All right, 254-339-1122. From the 616, I have always, I'm 31. Both ESPN and SEC are using those two programs like the suckers they are, talking about Texas and OU. This is a bet he's asked me. I will bet you $1,000, Smokey, that neither Texas or Oklahoma will ever win the SEC during our lifetimes. So he's 31. I'm 62. I don't know how many years I have left, but damn, I think I'm going to take that.
Really?
That they'll never. So
yeah, we gotta come on a good timeline here because like you said, there's a little bit of a disparity in the ages. So, it would be your lifetime. Hopefully, that's a long time from now.
I hope you think that way.
Yeah. Well, I'm not really rooting for anybody to die out here, but that is tempting. That is really tempting.
Okay, how many of you watching would take that bet? That in our lifetime, your lifetime, whether you're 62 like me, Craig is 37.
Yeah.
Would you take the bet $1,000 in your lifetime that Texas and Oklahoma combined will never win an SEC football title? I'm going to take the bet.
That you think they will?
Oh yeah, I do.
Oh yeah, I do too.
There's a reason why, even though I know if you're 31, you don't realize that some of those teams have been successful before, but Oklahoma has been, and I know that they've lost to Georgia and Alabama and LSU, and I know that they've blanked the bet a few times as well. But there's a reason why both of them are among the top 6 all-time winningest programs, and they have a bunch of Heismans and a bunch of national titles. It's been 16 years for Texas, that's for a national championship. But to win an SEC, I think I'm going to have to take the bet.
Yeah, even not knowing any details, like what do the schedules look like, who's in what division, who are you playing in the non-conference and all those things. I mean, obviously, I think we're moving towards a place where, whereas college football was you need to be unbeaten, or if you're not a blue blood, you can't afford, a loss. If you're a blue blood, you can afford maybe in some cases a couple, as we've seen in the playoff situation. But just a broad brush like that. Could they ever? Will they ever? Yeah, I would take that. I mean, I don't see any reason why not. And I know right now it seems kind of hard to picture, but those are two really strong programs, and I don't think they're coming in to just win 500, or go 500 every year. So, yeah, I'm thinking on average life expectancy, I'd give myself like another 40 years, give or take. I think that Oklahoma and Texas can win an SEC championship in the next 40 years,
and a lot of you are saying take it. Some of you say no, and they're going to be Arkansas or, hey.
Maybe, yeah, that's entirely possible.
Texas and Oklahoma don't have to play Kansas State when they join the SEC, so maybe that will help them out. I don't know. I really don't. And there's teams like that in every conference that beats better teams, and you sometimes don't know why.
What would be interesting is, so there's 14 teams now 16, right? Yeah, with Texas and Oklahoma. How many of those 14, obviously Alabama, obviously I would think Florida, Georgia, Auburn, LSU, A&M. I'd be interested to hear from the non-A&M fans what they think. I'm sure A&M fans think they'll probably win, the next, let's say, just for a timeline's sake, 30 years. Vandy and Arkansas and I mean, gosh. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. There's a lot of teams that are going to be super competitive, but I would take my chances that, in my lifetime, OU and Texas, or one of them will win an SEC title.
Even though Tech and Oklahoma State or TCU and Baylor are putting more and more and more revenue into their facilities, and I know Iowa State, Kansas State can, but the SEC's midsection at times, it seems like it's propped up a little bit. I've called this the bubble. You start the year with 4 teams ranked in the top 10. Now you can probably have 6 because Texas is always ranked in the top 10 in football no matter where they are.
No matter what.
Or 25. And then we know what Oklahoma's done. But, it's going to be a challenge because you have Auburn, a little bit of an up and down, all usually pretty consistent. You have what Georgia's doing, LSU's doing. But these schools weren't always that good, and I do think there's a bubble. For example, let's say there's 4 teams in the SEC ranked in the top 10, and it's a great conference. It's the best conference in America, all that. But let's say there's 4. And for whatever reason, South Carolina beats Georgia. You know what happens? Georgia drops a little bit from, let's say, 4 to 8 or 9. South Carolina comes all the way to 12.
Yeah, that happens constantly.
Happens.
Yeah, it happens constantly.
Go back and look, and then what happens is South Carolina then loses to Vanderbilt. Nobody remembers that. They'll drop to 14 because they beat Georgia. Georgia turns around and beats Arkansas. They're back to 6.
Well, and plus their Vanderbilt loss was only by a touchdown. It's not trying to bag on the SEC. It's just true. It's like there's a little bit of a difference in kind of the upward and downward trajectory following losses in comparison to what you see with others. Because I've seen. I can't cite a specific week or a specific year, but I know that I've definitely seen situations where a Big 12 school loses like their second game and they fall 12 spots out of the top 25, and an SEC team maybe on equal footing wins a game and they jump 10 spots. And there's kind of the rankings. I've never really been a big fan of the preseason rankings to begin with, but that does give you automatically you got 10 to start the year in the top 25, and then once you're already in there from the beginning, it's kind of hard to fall out when, the team that you lost to, they're number 5, so we can't drop them that far. You can only drop them a couple spots because they lost. It's definitely kind of gimmicky the way that they do that. But going back to where we started with this, yes, in my lifetime, I would think one of those 2 schools wins a title.
I'm going to take that. I'll be in touch with you. You're 31, so I know that means you're pretty smart. Probably just got med school, doctorate, all that stuff. Maybe from an AAU school. I don't know. But I'm
give him a lot of credit without knowing.
Yeah, I mean, he's 31. He's a little bit naive, I think. I really do. A little bit naive, but I love it.
I just think that there's and is he an SEC fan? Do we know that?
It's based on the chatter back and forth. Absolutely.
Okay, yeah. So, I think there are definitely going to be a lot of people of that opinion. I've seen plenty of SEC fans that either don't like the Oklahoma and Texas move to really begin with, for whatever reason that might be. They just don't like the change. They don't see the necessity to do it. Perhaps they're worried about UT's eventual influence because they're going to try and do something at some point in time to gain a little more of power. But I can see why you would look at the way the Big 12 has been portrayed the last several years and the lack of a national championship since Texas last won one, and then Oklahoma, the only one before that in the 2000s. I can see why you would think that, but I think it might be just my opinion, not giving them enough credit. And I know that Oklahoma and Texas are top 10 basically, and on bad years they're top 15 to top 20 in the overall rankings, whether that be 247 or Rivals or whatever. But they're going to get a boost out of this. That's the thing. They're not going to just keep recruiting the exact same as they always have been. They're not going to have that SEC brand behind them, and that's going to matter. And they're going to have a whole lot more money at their disposal. And particularly in Texas' case, although Oklahoma, does have some force here as well, but Texas to a larger extent because of just their size and Austin and all that. The NIL thing, I mean, that changes a lot. Because we don't know, how involved the NIL is going to be and what kind of things people are going to come up with. And you best believe that, at least in UT's case, and I would assume Oklahoma's as well, that they got some grander plans. They're not just joining the SEC blindly and thinking that they can just keep doing what they've always been doing. I just think that that's too short-sighted. I would have to imagine that they know that there's some things that they'll be able to do better, bigger, and that will pay off for them by making this move, not just off the field, but on the field as well. So, getting rid of that Big 12 label, I think, boosts them a little bit. And, you've seen what's happened with A&M's recruiting. I mean, they always recruited pretty well, too, but they've definitely seen that boost.
All right, we got to break one more time. It's 5:46. Appreciate all the calls and texts. We'll get to some more of you. And, again, I'll try to get on there a little bit with some of you tonight once I get kind of decompressed and settled in a little bit. So to give you one more thing, when we come back as well, we'll take a couple of calls, 254-339-1122, text and all.
I'll throw a G in as well on that bet. If you're really going to square away that bet, I'll throw in a G as well.
All right, now we have two of us.
I don't know how I'm going to keep track of a bet, like hopefully 40 years from now or whatever, but sure.
I'm going to take it. There's a couple of things that went down today, nothing that's out of the whack, or there's a few things. We'll summarize a little bit of that as well. Armstrong Sims, Marquise, what a run it's been. We have a weekend, and then we'll turn around and try to do this again, but we're not done now. SicEm365 Radio. Make the summer sales event rocking at Allen Samuels Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat with the 2021 Ram 1500 Quad Cab Lone Star, total values up to $5,250 or 2.9% for 72 months, but you also have $1,000 in bonus cash. In the 1500 Crew Cab at Allen Samuels, top safety rating, ranked number 1 in full-size pickups. That also available at Allen Samuels Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat. And on top of that, there is the new 2021 Jeep Renegade Latitude, up to $3,750 in total values or 1.9% financing. And let's see, 72 months. Plus $500 in bonus cash, no payments for 90 days. So the bottom line is Loop 340, east of 84 in Waco, Allen Samuels, DCJ.com.
At Baylor University, students can shine in their own way. Or should we say their own ways? Because there's no limit to the ways Baylor students make the world a brighter place. Whether they're leading a student organization or following a higher calling, getting advice from faculty, or taking part in world-class research, pursuing their dreams, or working toward their dream job, students find their place to shine at Baylor, where lights shine bright.
Boozers is the wedding ring store and more. If you're ready to get engaged or already married and want to upgrade your wife's ring for a special anniversary, Boozers is the place to go. With the largest selection of premier quality diamond engagement rings and wedding rings in Central Texas. They have 7 cases with over 300 styles of rings from top designers like Natalie Kay. Choose from yellow, white, or rose gold, plus beautiful top quality loose diamonds. With an in-house jewelry, they can also custom make anything you want. Bring in a picture or drawing and let Boozers create your one-of-a-kind pendant or ring. They can even use some of your old gold and diamond jewelry to create something new. At Boozers, you'll find a great selection of quality timepieces, and Boozers is the place for expert watch maintenance and repairs, too. They specialize in expert Rolex watch repair for fine jewelry, watches, custom work, and more. Go to Boozers on Valley Mills and Lake Air Drive in Waco.
Boozers, the wedding ring store and more.
At Marco's Pizza, get craveable pizza made the Italian way with dough made from scratch, an original sauce recipe, 3 fresh signature cheeses, and premium toppings you love, served hot and safe. Right now, you can get unlimited medium one-topping pizzas for just $6.99 each. Why stop at just one? Order with your app or at marcos.com for curbside, carryout, or delivery today. Marco's, pizza lovers get it.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine has their easy-to-access drive-thru open and convenient and clean in-store location on the corner of Lakeshore Drive and North 19th Street in Waco. Riverbend Liquor has the best and most extensive variety of craft beer selections in Waco, and Balcones whiskey, including single malt, pot still, baby blue, rye, brimstone, and the all-new lineage in stock. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, family-owned and operated, and a hidden gem in Waco on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street. And find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
Did you know that 1 out of every 4 men have symptomatic low levels of testosterone and don't even know it? And if you think you're too young to worry about it, guess again. Low T levels can make you feel tired and grumpy, cause weight gain, and wreak havoc on your sexual desire and performance. Petty Clinic Low T can set up same-day blood screening and results, so if you're tired of being tired, I challenge you to man up and Google search Low T Waco or go online pettycliniclowt.com. It's a private clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Affordable, only $150 a month, includes lab work, office consultation, testosterone injections, follow-up visits compared to $395 a month in Dallas or Austin, and you don't have to fight the traffic. Petty Clinic Low T as board-certified physician consultations will provide the best form of brand-strength testosterone available. Contact Petty Clinic Low T today, just off Highway 84 and Old Hewitt Drive in Woodway. Petty Clinic Low T, helping men become the high-performance men they deserve to be. PettyClinicLowT.com or Google search Low T Waco.
Welcome back to SicEm365 Radio. Have you subscribed to our YouTube channel? Do it today by searching SicEm365 on YouTube.
All right, my good friend in the 616 laughed my off. Okay, 20 years.
Okay.
You'll
I'll
still take it. I will too,
yeah.
But you can't change the bet after. That's $1,000,
No.
big boy.
I agree with him. I think there needs to be a cap of some sort. Now, he is kind of back walking it a little bit because I think you probably realize, first of all, it would be a really hard bet to pay off. It's still going to be a hard bet to pay off in a decade because who the heck knows, but I do like at least there's a timeline of sorts because open-ended like that, I mean.
Yeah, if we die.
But having said that, if next 20 years, I'm still taking that bet. I still think Oklahoma or Texas will win an SEC championship in the next 20 years.
He has not given me his name, but the 616 shall have your number now. If we did, how do I get paid? Well, one, don't look at me like that. I'm 62. I hope that could be on edge.
Let's get there first. We got 20 years, right?
That could be a little bit dicey. All right.
It'd be great, though. And shoot, they're not even going to be in the conference for at least 1, if not 5 more seasons. We have no idea there yet.
From the 404 UGA fan, Georgia fan, I'd take the bet. Texas or Oklahoma will win it in the next 10, 15. Love the show. You guys are an awesome job. It's great to get another perspective with all the new changes. And some of you didn't even know who we were, maybe even earlier today. Some of you wish you never found us, but hundreds, and I mean, there are thousands of you who have. Armstrong, where are we on the subscription number for the YouTube channel that at the start of the month was 2,600, and now?
One second, I'm looking it up real quick.
Okay, because I don't know how. I'm
14.3 million people.
Yeah.
No, that'd be awesome. But
we're almost 7,000.
7,000 or so, give or take, subscribers, but we couldn't get to that without what we do, but what you like what we do, and thank you so much for being a part of the show. And we're about to hit the weekend, but 254-339-1122 if you have to jump on with us right now.
Yeah, and earlier this week, I don't know, there might have been a text or something. I can't remember why I went on this mini rant about something, but somebody made a comment about, well, you guys cover Baylor, why would you care, blah, blah, blah. And so for those of you who may not have heard that, I mean, that's primarily what we do and what we'll continue to do. I mean, fall camp will start here in about a week, and we'll have some stuff on that. But ultimately, I think we've been as unbiased as you could possibly be, especially given the team that we cover is in no safe landing spot whatsoever right now. They're going to have to, be a part of this Big 12 coalition. But at the end of the day, we're just sports fans. And big-time college football fans. And so it's been fun to have the interactions and to hear from people all over the country. I mean, well over half the 50 states. It's been incredible. So just want to say thanks to all of y'all and all y'all fellow college football fans. Really looking forward to this roller coaster that we're on and where it takes us ultimately.
All right, this is from G. Bama Boy. It will be tougher for Bama. Oklahoma's no joke. Texas might need a year or two to catch up.
Yeah.
From Robert, the Big 12 can be the scrappy underdog. The NIL, it's completely legal to bribe players. And then from Bruce Lionhold, who just joined us, I enjoy the show. From Auburn, you know what? One of my favorite places to play golf, and I haven't in a long time, Robert Trent Jones Golf Trails in Alabama. They are just amazing. And the one at Opelika, the golf courses at Opelika, the ones in, Prattville, Montgomery, the Birmingham, Jesus, is it the Bridges? Gee, they are just absolutely gorgeous. Bruce said, War Eagle, My best friend's a huge Auburn fan, a War Eagle fan in Eric Horton.
Yeah, that'll be cool to see Auburn OU, Auburn Texas, and matchups like that. And just all the other ones. I mean, there's dozens and dozens of possibilities. I don't know how long the mystique lasts with those matchups before you start to see it so often every single week that it kind of just be like big games suddenly feel like just normal games. You know what I mean? I think that's kind of the threat that you face there. But certainly, whenever this starts, it's going to be incredible to watch, at least at the beginning, and we'll see where it kind of settles in. But, for the guy who mentioned NIL, I mean, I think that was, obviously TV rights, security, finances, that all played a major role in the move by Oklahoma and Texas. But I would have to believe that them, knowing the power of NIL and what that's going to do to college athletics and being two teams that are incredibly well positioned to take advantage of NIL, that had to play into this also.
By the way, from the 2-1, I agree, 2-1-0, what do you think? Tech, Oklahoma State, K-State, Houston to the Pac-12, Texas mark entry recruiting.
I don't think
that's kind of a potpourri. Texas Tech and Oklahoma State being connected somewhere might make sense because they both reminded me of each other just because I've covered them forever. TCU, Baylor, Kansas State, Iowa State. But the Houston thing, we've talked about this before. Yes, it's the market, but they don't by any means have any kind of a true blip on the radar when it comes to TV terms, although it is Houston. SMU's in Dallas, same thing. We've said this before. Tulane, New Orleans, same thing. Even I love the Frogs, right? Baylor fans like, what the hell's happened to Smokey?
Yeah, what has happened?
No, I respect TCU. Not everybody, but I do. And we had a guest on with Brian Estridge earlier this week. They don't control the Fort Worth market, even when they're really, really, really good. We've been to Amon Carter. We've seen it empty. We've been to McLean Stadium, and we've seen it, sparse. And a lot of that's because of the alumni base, no matter even if there's a lot. I tell you what, one thing that Baylor fans, I'm going to say this to you, and even K-State fans or Iowa State fans or TCU fans, when there's a game and you're going to see, let's say, Fort Worth right now, or even Stillwater, which is a little bit longer of a drive, Oklahoma City, Norman, Texas. If there are 2,500 seats available for an event and 160 of you buy tickets, shame on you. The one thing I have said this, and I will say this about Baylor fans, you want to be included in the Power Five, and damn, you've done a good job as an athletic department to be a part of that. But there's a lot of, it's at 11, it's at 6, the game's in a weeknight. That's going to have to stop if you're going to go into, again, take this to the next level. Baylor will spend all the money you want them to. But those are things that still kind of, I bet, bother the hell out of the athletic department.
I mean, what? The Baylor athletic, like what? The lack of attendance?
If the game's at 11, it's too early. If it's at 6 o'clock, it's too late.
What did Oklahoma just complain about for the last year?
I am talking about going to the game, not where the games kick off on television.
Yeah, I mean, like that. Yeah, I know what you're saying, but I mean, I don't think if they suddenly start selling out every week, and they do pretty well in that regard, I don't know that all of a sudden you're considered to go be headed towards another tier. I mean, it's also half the size of, most of the stadiums we were just talking about in the SC. I know what you mean, though. Like, fan support is what it was ultimately going to back all of this, because where do the financials come from? They come from the fans. Where do the ticket money, all that, that's from the fans. So one thing you could say about the SEC is, as much as I don't really like the way that they sort of band together and take kind of credit for just the entire conference's successes, maybe it's just because I'm not used to it, because the Big 12 obviously hated each other, and so nobody wanted to take credit for everybody else's successes. Like, more or less, they were like pissed that another team in the conference would win something. They have pride for days, and they pack stadiums and they travel well, and I would imagine that a lot of people are excited about being able to travel to Austin and Norman to just to see something different. But especially for Oklahoma and Texas fans, I know a lot of them out there are already like very stoked about heading to Tuscaloosa and to Athens and Gainesville, etc. So yeah, that'll be cool. But yeah, fan support is where it starts.
All right, anything to summarize this week? Armstrong, did you have fun? I know we got to go. Not top 5 today. Paul's out until Monday. What do you think, buddy?
I think the explosion is amazing.
It's been fun, huh?
It has been fun.
And Brian Etheridge, one of our partners, shows a kind of a ticker that's constantly moving on the subscribers. We appreciate that. But that's not all we're here for. We're here also to hopefully be entertaining, to bring you the knowledge that we learn a lot of times from you as much as maybe hopefully you learn from us. It's been fun. The last 10 days on the air, the last 8 shows actually, have been not a blur, but exhilarating.
Yeah, I've been on radio, doing radio in some form or fashion for a couple decades, and this is by far kind of just the wildest, weirdest, but ultimately fun and just exhilarating type of week hearing from so many people. You get a kind of perspective of what a national show must feel like on a daily basis, but to actually experience it for the first time instead of just sliding into a national show that's already got it, like an ESPN radio or something, it's been amazing to see the number of people who have been interested in what we're talking about, and you just feel the passion. It's why I love college football. It's why I don't want it to be like the NFL. NFL fans are passionate, but college football fans are on a different level. It's a bit more personal, and that's part of why I love it so much, along with the traditions and rivalries and everything. So I don't know where we're headed with this thing. I sure hope it's not a mini NFL. Very well could be, but definitely intrigued by everything that occurs from now until we finally landed a spot where everything's concrete once again, because it's certainly not right now. A lot of moving parts, roller coaster ride, and just here for the fun and the thrill, and glad that a lot of y'all are a part of it as well.
Emma's not here today. She hopefully will be back with us next week. Jack should be back at some point next week. And that's a note for me to tell Craig. Also, Armstrong, again, thanks, Marquise. Great stuff. All of our sponsors. I've shared some of the numbers and data and all that with sponsors, and they're all incredibly thrilled as we continue to grow. Enjoy the weekend. I will try to get back on the text line for those of you that text later on the night or in the weekend, whatever. I'm David Smoak for Craig Smoak. Again, thank you so much. SicEm365 Radio.
Ideal MRI is a small family business right here in Central Texas. We're open to support you while lowering the cost of healthcare bills. When you need an MRI, ask your doctor for an Ideal MRI. Visit us at idealmri.com or call us at 833-IDEAL-MRI.
Stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. See all the things they can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Texas Farm Bureau Insurance has been proudly serving Texans across the state for over 60 years. Call 254-772-8090 to find an agent who will provide a free review of your auto, home, and life coverage.